Chapter 1799. The Fan family won't go. This wouldn't suffice. With the birth of Lord Xiao's son, the Mei family and the Hua family had already paid their respects. Numerous other esteemed families had followed suit. It would be deemed improper for the Fan family to abstain. Refusing to attend would invite ridicule, painting them as petty and small-minded. Both madams of the Fan family were irked by mother-in-law's obstinacy and lack of decorum. Yet, attempting to sway her would only result in further conflict, ensuring their own reluctance to attend. Should they relent and attend, they would undoubtedly face reprimand. As seasoned grandmothers, they harbored no inclination to endure such admonishment. The two old masters of the Fan family found themselves powerless to influence their wives in this matter. Laden with guilt and devoid of recourse, they resolved to act independently. Their efforts, however, were swiftly met with their mother's scathing reproach. "What are you thinking? That Xiao character harbors ill will toward our Fan family. Despite our strained relations, he deigns to offer congratulations? You two disappointments. Will you present your other cheek after being slapped? You two are utterly insufferable. Even Ener shows more spine than you. You bring disgrace upon our family. You are forbidden from attending. The Fan family shall not stoop to such servility." The two old masters endured the barrage of scolding, their chests tight, vision dimming. Shame and resentment coursed through them, but they gritted their teeth and endured. Such was the burden of filial obligation. Were she not their mother by blood, fisticuffs might have ensued long ago. Yet. Fan Ruyan's incendiary words only served to stoke the flames. "Elder brother, second brother, it's plain to see that Lord Xiao is exploiting our family's position. If we extend further courtesies, we only diminish our dignity and embolden his arrogance. Don't blame me for my ire. If you have the time to dwell on this, why not devise a strategy to address Lord Xiao and curb his arrogance? That would be in the best interest of the Fan family." These words held undeniable truth. Resolving this matter amicably was imperative to mitigate the Fan family's losses. Yet upon hearing Fan Ruyan's admonition, the two old masters of the Fan family felt an overwhelming sense of revulsion. For the 108th time, they lamented their decision to allow this woman into their family. Why hadn't they married her off instead? Regret consumed them. Consequently, the entire city became aware that the Fan family abstained from presenting gifts to Lord Xiao. Xiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan remained indifferent. The absence of the Fan family was a relief, sparing them any concern. On the day of the baby's birth, Xiao Yunduan dispatched messengers to spread the joyful news to Yuzhang. The Yuezheng family expressed their happiness upon hearing the news, and relayed it to Shouting Village. Despite her son, daughter-in-law, and grandson's absence, Ms. Fong radiated joy in the village. She paid respects to their ancestors and planned several small banquets to honor the land officer, village elders, and those close to them. Furthermore, she requested the Yuezheng family to deliver clothing, shoes, socks, swaddling clothes, longevity locks, gold bracelets, red dates, and cubelos for the expectant mother. Ms. Fong also gifted Xiao Xian 500 taels of silver, a gesture of respect despite knowing she lacked nothing. Ms. Yan and Mei Qing, considerate as ever, prepared gifts for each family member, entrusting the Fan family to deliver them accordingly. Chapter 1800. Fruit. First Madam shared in Xiao Xian's joy, having meticulously prepared an array of supplements and items for the baby, eagerly anticipating Yuezheng Xiao's next visit. In First Madam's eyes, the bond between Xiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan had already solidified, and the birth of their eldest son only served to fortify her position further. Yuezheng Xiao arranged for fruits to be brought over, though longan fruits and lychees were no longer in season. However, there were still mangoes, dragon fruits, papayas, bananas, kiwis, grapes, cantaloupes, watermelons, and peaches available. Xiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan greeted Yuezheng Xiao warmly, deeply touched by the thoughtful gifts from their family. While she lacked nothing materially, Xiao Xian found solace and warmth in her family's genuine concern. The sense of being cherished and missed was profoundly comforting. Conversely, the attitude of "since you have everything, I won't give it to you," proved to be the most disheartening. Yet, Yuezheng Xiao found himself occupied as well. He stayed for 2 nights, marveling at the newborn before returning home. He had pledged to attend the 1-month-old celebration, fulfilling his promise. Simultaneously, He sought to convey his mother's desire to attend. However, he pondered its appropriateness. Xiao Xian held a deep respect and gratitude towards First Madame Lezheng. Naturally, she hoped First Madame Lezheng could attend the baby's 1-month-old banquet, alongside all the shouting village family members. Unfortunately, it was not the opportune time. It would be deemed inappropriate. An's province was not safe yet, and there would be too many people around. If someone sneaked in and she and Xiao Yinduan could not take care of them, it would be very troublesome. You would never know what was coming next. Xiao Xian and Xiao Yinduan had no choice but to turn him down. Apparently, Yuezheng Xiao had already expected that this would happen. He did not mind it at all. Instead, he comforted them with a smile. Lord Xiao and sister-in-law, don't feel guilty. It is indeed not convenient for my mother and the others to come to An's province right now. We can ask old Madame Xiao and the old master of the Xiao family to come with us when we have the chance. Xiao Xian and Xiao Yinduan looked at each other and nodded with a smile. Yes, when this place is settled, we will invite elder aunt and mother-in-law here. Yuezheng Xiao laughed and left. Yuezheng Xiao had brought a lot of fruits, which was what the first madam had reminded him about. She said that Xiao Xian and Xiao Yinduan were going to have a lot of guests, so they should send more fruits to the guests. Yuezheng Xiao agreed, so he brought 8 baskets of fruits. In fact, it was more than useful. It was simply too honorable. Whenever guests arrived to offer their congratulations, Xiao Xian instructed Li Xia and the others to present them with the rare fruits. These fruits were truly a novelty to the people of An's province, who marveled at their exotic appearance and relished their unparalleled flavor. Enhanced by Xiao Xian's unique abilities, the fruits became even more delectable and aromatic, earning endless praise from all who tasted them. For the Hua family and Mei family, who had graced their home before, Xiao Xian arranged for specially curated fruit baskets to be prepared as tokens of appreciation. However, for other visiting families, Xiao Xian chose not to extend such offerings. As the wife of the prefect, Xiao Xian operated within the realm of reason and personal preference. Given her status and authority, few would dare to question the fairness of her actions. The distinction between the 3 prominent families and others was simply a matter of practicality and natural inclination. After all, it was only human nature to accord special treatment to those of significant influence and stature. Who would dare to object? Chapter 1801. All wanted Xiao Xian remained indifferent to whether she pleased everyone or not. In their pursuit of fairness, they risked being perceived as weak or easily manipulated. The perception that they were easily bullied lingered among some guests. Xiao Xian took the opportunity to offer the guests rare and precious fruits, emphasizing that only she and the Yuezheng family possessed these fruit trees. With a vast orchard in Yuzhang, she planned to acquire more fruit trees next year to experiment with planting gyro. Strawberries and dragon fruit seemed promising, as she had already successfully cultivated them in her backyard. The strawberries, particularly prized and delicate, were only available locally, as transporting them over long distances was impractical. Guests savored the seasonal fruits, relishing the opportunity to taste them firsthand. Xiao Xian's announcement stirred emotions, prompting some to express interest in reserving fruit trees in advance from Madame Xiao, regardless of quantity. Xiao Xian responded graciously, indicating her willingness to share if circumstances allowed. Furthermore, she contemplated establishing an orchard on their premises, provided the soil and water conditions were suitable. The revelation endeared Xiao Xian to the guests, fostering a sense of closeness and prompting them to adopt more courteous and friendly diminuendo. Even if some were merely feigning, no one was oblivious to the fact that offending Madame Xiao or jeopardizing their relationship with her could forfeit their chance to acquire a share of the coveted fruit trees. Moreover, when Xiao Xian shared the fruits with the scribes, their inquiries revealed that no one else besides the Yuezheng family and Madame Xiao possessed such unique fruit trees. The Yuezheng family was a big family, so no one dared to do anything to them. Some people also wanted to buy fruit trees, but the Yuezheng family refused. They didn't even sell the fruits to them. After all, the Yuezheng family had said that the fruits were very precious, and they couldn't afford to buy them at a high price. Seeing that they had come all the way here, it was already good enough to share a few to taste a euro hence. Everyone felt regretful. He also vaguely understood that Madame Xiao would have to talk to him about These Euro now that Madame Xiao had taken the initiative to convey the message. It was clear to all who wouldn't understand. Those privileged enough to offer their congratulations at the prefect's office hailed from distinguished backgrounds. With ample resources at their disposal, they readily embraced the opportunity for indulgence. After all, the allure of longan fruits, lychees, mangoes, mangosteens, strawberries, and more was undeniable. Once tasted, their exquisite flavors lingered in memory, leaving an enduring longing. It was only natural to avoid offending Madame Xiao and Lord Xiao in such circumstances. The Fan clan seethed with renewed anger. While other families dutifully paid their respects at the state office, the conspicuous absence of the Fan family served as a pointed protest against Xiao Yunduan and Xiao Xian. However, they did not anticipate that attendees would be treated to the exquisite taste of such precious fruits. Two scribes, previously gifted with lychees, longans and dragon fruits, shared their bounty with the Fan family. Delighted by the flavors, even old lady Fan indulged in a taste. Fan Ruyan and her daughter Bai Rue developed a particular fondness for lychees and longans. Despite efforts to procure more through the housekeeper, their quest remained unfulfilled. Chapter 1802. On purpose Fan Ruyan and her mother harbored deep dissatisfaction. Upon learning that, aside from the Xiao family and the Yuezheng family, no one else possessed these fruits, they reluctantly resigned themselves to the situation. Attempting to threaten Lord Xiao was futile. The Yuezheng family's status transcended mere familial ties within An's province. Despite the Fan family's influence, they were powerless to alter the situation. Moreover, the Yuezheng family's comparable power level only exacerbated the Fan family's frustration. To add insult to injury, before they could extend their congratulations at the state office, they were denied the opportunity to taste the prized fruits. Their indignation heightened when they learned that Madame Xiao had generously sent 2 large fruit baskets to the Mei family and the Hua family. Laden with mangoes, kiwis, bananas, dragon fruits, mangosteens, and the most precious strawberries, the baskets were overflowing. Rather than framing it as a reciprocal gift, Madame Xiao described it as a special treat for them to enjoy. The conspicuous omission of the Fan clan stung like a slap to the face. Old Lady Fan seethed with fury. Fan Ruyan accused Xiao Xian of arrogance and disrespect towards the Fan family. Upon hearing of this, Xiao Xian forthrightly admitted that she lacked sufficient fruits, but pledged to share with the Fan family if more were available. However, priority would be given to guests and the 3 congratulatory families. Any surplus fruits would then be allocated to those who had not received them during the congratulations. The implication was clear. Fairness would be upheld, but the Fan family, as newcomers, would not be prioritized. This rationale only fueled Old Lady Fan and her daughter's ire even further. It's evident that Lord Xiao abused his power for personal gain, publicly humiliating and bullying our Fan family first. When we stood up in protest, they twisted the narrative to make it seem like we were the instigators. As expected, they'll let them do as they please. Mother, our family can't afford to retreat or admit defeat this time. Otherwise, we'll lose our standing in An's province. Fan Ruyan seethed with fury. A person of great dignity, she had presumed that her respected and flattered status in An's province would guarantee different treatment from Madame Xiao. Unexpectedly, Madame Xiao did not treat her differently. She had harbored resentment for some time, and was biding her time. What Fan Ruyan failed to realize was her own arrogance and obstinacy. Old Lady Fan's protective nature, and the Fan family's status as one of the 3 prominent families in An's province shielded her from disobedience or flattery from smaller clans. The Mei family and the Hua family were well aware of her personality, and typically avoided confrontation. Furthermore, she hesitated to push too far with them, fearing repercussions. Unbeknownst to Fan Ruyan, many women tolerated and flattered her outwardly while secretly plotting her downfall. Just wait and see. One day, someone will teach her a lesson. And now, that day seemed to have arrived, with countless individuals silently applauding behind her back. Old Lady Fan remained resolute on the matter of taxes. 3 million kilograms of dry grains equated to a considerable sum, given the current market prices. No family would willingly part with such a significant amount of wealth without just cause. Chapter 1803. Think of a way more importantly, this cycle of losses would persist indefinitely into the future, resulting in significant long-term repercussions. Adding to the strain, the relationship between the Fan family and Lord Xiao had deteriorated to the point where they couldn't afford any further loss of reputation. Old Lady Fan concurred, summoning her two sons and inquiring about any viable solutions they might have devised. Their plan had initially revolved around a private meeting with Lord Xiao, offering him increased benefits compared to previous years in a plea for leniency. Yet, despite their efforts, when Lord Xiao greeted them warmly, he steadfastly refused their offerings, opting instead to lecture them tirelessly on the laws of the Great Qin Empire. The elder members of the Fan family found themselves rendered speechless, their chests constricted with tension. First Old Master Fan clenched his teeth, realizing that even doubling the benefits promised to Lord Xiao failed to sway him. Meanwhile, a bitter smile crept onto the face of the other elder, First Old Master Fan, as he acknowledged Lord Xiao's indifference to their modest offerings. It seemed evident that such a trifling sum held no allure for him, especially considering his substantial wealth, which surpassed 600,000 taels of silver without hesitation. With covert operations ruled out, the two elders reluctantly abandoned their initial strategy, compelled to explore alternative avenues. Even in the absence of their mother's prompting, they were already racking their brains to devise a solution. After all, enduring such annual losses over an extended period was simply untenable. Learning of their failed attempt to persuade Xiao Yunduan, Old Lady Fan's expression soured with a mixture of anger and disdain. Why must you subject yourselves to such humiliation? Lord Xiao will not yield unless we offer him everything we possess. Mother speaks the truth. Elder brother, second brother, your judgment has faltered. Are you not aware of the true nature of Lord Xiao and his wife? Do you not grasp how they regard our family? Why must you persist in this futile endeavor? In my estimation, even if we were to seek an audience, Lord Xiao would remain elusive. Would it not be wiser to approach Deputy Prefect Guan instead? The two elder members of the Fan family were taken aback, a realization dawning upon Themeuro's second Old Master Fan furrowed his brow once more. But can Deputy Prefect Guan assist us, considering his responsibilities over field investigations and tax collection? Old Lady Fan scoffed, her tone sharp. Isn't that convenient? Precisely because he oversees these matters, it's fitting. Deputy Prefect Guan has been stationed in An's province for a decade. What doesn't he know? I refuse to believe there's no one loyal to him within the government office. If he truly wished to conceal something from that Xiao character, it would be child's play. Why didn't you two consider this? Thankfully, we have the insight of the younger generation. The countenances of the two elder Fan masters soured. Yet Fan Rian interjected with a smile. Mother, don't fault elder brother and second brother. It simply slipped their minds momentarily. Besides, as a member of the Fan family, it's my duty to contribute. I always knew you were capable and dutiful. The two elder Fan masters remained silent, their spirits dampened. Having failed to secure an audience with Xiao Yunduan, they hesitated to approach Deputy Prefect Guan directly. Instead, they dispatched a representative to gather information about the inner workings of the office. Failure to devise a successful strategy would leave them with few alternatives. After all, who would willingly abandon such a significant matter without exerting every effort? Their inquiries, however, yielded increasingly shocking revelations. Having no official ties to the government, they had paid scant attention to the affairs of the state office. Their knowledge was limited to the reputation of Lord Xiao's authoritarian rule, and the exodus of many long-standing officials and scribes from the government office. Chapter 1804. They are done. This was a common occurrence. As the saying goes, a new emperor brings new ministers. Who could fault Lord Xiao for strategically placing his own allies within the government office? Such tactics were par for the course. However, what caught them off guard was the outcome of the clashes between Lord Xiao and Deputy Prefect Guan. Despite Deputy Prefect Guan's efforts to assert his authority, both openly and covertly, he found himself outmaneuvered time and again by Lord Xiao, suffering significant setbacks in the process. The bitterness welled up within the two brothers. Would seeking assistance from Deputy Prefect Guan truly yield any results? They couldn't afford to risk everything and come back empty-handed. Reflecting on the rumors they had heard about Xiao Yunduan's immense wealth and his victories over the Tiger Head tribe, the Fan brothers decided to reassess their approach. Their astute business instincts warned them that this venture held little promise. If this trend persisted, it could spell the end of Euro truly. Lord Xiao defied the mold of any previous prefect Lord Euro while they were not yet won over by him. Why did the Fan family feel compelled to stand out? Wouldn't it be wiser to bide their time, waiting for an opportune moment to capitalize on the situation? After deliberation, the brothers briefed Old Lady Fan on their conclusions. But Old Lady Fan dismissed their findings, berating them once more. She even suggested that if they were unwilling to exert themselves for the sake of the Fan family, they should personally compensate for the losses each year from their own pockets. Incensed, the two elder Fan masters grappled with conflicting emotions. Why should they foot the bill while benefiting another family? Feeling a mix of disappointment and indignation, they resolved to reach out to Deputy Prefect Guan themselves. What harm could a few attempts do? Why not take the chance? Old Lady Fan seethed with fury. Coincidentally, Jia Hemming made his third visit of the day, requesting the Fan family's cooperation with the field and land investigation. Jia Hemming's demeanor this time was notably stern. Armed with documents from Xiao Yunduan, he handed them over to the Fan family's butler. His resolute stance made it clear that he intended to commence comparing documents the following morning, scrutinizing discrepancies. Should the Fan family refuse to cooperate, he warned, bailiffs would be compelled to enter the premises. Old Lady Fan's anger surged. She ordered the gatekeeper to eject Jia Hemming from the premises. After all, Lord Xiao held the position of prefect. While she might be powerless against him, she couldn't tolerate such insolence from a mere underling. The Fan clan hadn't sunk so low as to endure such disrespect. Fan Ruyan shared in her grandmother's indignation. With a disdainful smirk, she remarked, "Using a chicken feather as an arrow indeed. Just a lowly scribe. In the days of the previous Lord Prefect, even such a minor functionary would bow respectfully in our presence. This is utterly preposterous. If he wishes to play the game of arrogance, let him revel in it for a lifetime. Those who lack foresight will inevitably meet their downfall." Old Lady Fan's disgust only grew. Who does this Jia think he is? How dare he flaunt his authority before the Fan family? If we fail to reprimand him, he'll remain oblivious to the boundaries of respect. He must learn the consequences of his impertinence. Mother always knows best. Fan Ruyan's eyes gleamed with determination. I'll handle it immediately. See to it discreetly, and ensure our family's hands remain clean. You can count on me, Mom. Chapter 1805. Plot. Jia Hemming was not surprised that he was rejected again. Upon his return to the government office, Jia Hemming informed Zheng Sang that if the Fan family persisted in their refusal to cooperate, he would enlist Sang's assistance along with a few others for official matters the following day. He lamented that without their cooperation, resolving the matter seemed as improbable as a cold day in hell. The Fan family's obstinate attitude proved to be a formidable obstacle, hindering progress at every turn. Deputy Prefect Guan remained indifferent, content to engage in fruitless discussions and endless dialogue without taking decisive action. Yet Jia Hemming remained undeterred, resolved to adhere to Lord Xiao's directives. However, he never anticipated the ambush awaiting him on his journey back from the government office. As he gradually regained consciousness, the moon hung high in the sky, its pale glow casting an eerie light. The stifling humidity of midsummer lingered, suffocating and oppressive in the still night air. Every movement sent waves of agony coursing through his body, from his head to his arms and legs. As he gingerly touched a tender spot at the corner of his mouth, the broken and scabbed skin elicited a sharp pain. Surveying the desolate alley where he lay, a sense of foreboding washed over him. Despite the pain racking his body, he struggled to his feet and staggered back towards the prefect's officio. Meanwhile, Xiao Yunduan and Xiao Xian, new parents adjusting to the demands of their infant, sought much-needed rest. Even with the assistance of nannies and maids, the newborn's cries demanded Xiao Xian's maternal attention. Anan proved to be quite proficient in crying and throwing tantrums, demonstrating a remarkable clinginess that saw her bursting into tears the moment she woke, seeking solace only from Xiao Xian. Despite the efforts of the nanny, she adamantly refused to drink milk from anyone but her mother, and required feeding 3 times throughout the night. As a result, the nanny and maids primarily assisted with basic tasks such as changing diapers, adjusting bedding, and entertaining Anan when she was awake. Xiao Xian briefly contemplated allowing Anan to cry it out and rely on the servants for comfort, but her maternal instincts won out each time, unable to bear her child's distress. Ultimately, Xiao Xian resigned herself to the situation, recognizing that Anan's preference for her was due to their biological bond. Despite the challenges, she found solace in the assistance of household staff and occasional support from her husband. It wasn't that Xiao Xian hadn't considered letting Anan cry and allowing the nanny and maids to tend to him. Perhaps he would grow accustomed to it with time, but she couldn't bring herself to do it. Anan would start crying pitifully, and within moments, Xiao Xian's heart would melt with sympathy once more. In the end, she decided to let things be. Her baby was drawn to her because she was his biological mother. Why should she force herself to appear as a distant stepmother? With a servant to assist her, she was spared the burden of household chores. Her husband's occasional help and companionship were enough for her to manage. That was sufficient for Xiao Xian. The first stretch of Anan's nightly slumber was typically the most peaceful and longest, offering Xiao Xian a precious window for rest after her demanding days. However, even in her exhausted state, Xiao Xian often found herself roused from sleep, unable to fully indulge in intimacy with her husband as fatigue overtook her. Now, just as she had managed to drift off, Lixia's hesitant voice pierced the silence of the tent. A Euro constable's son by mentioned that Scribe Jia is here. He's badly injured, Lord. Yue Euro Xiao Yunduan's demeanor shifted immediately. Oh, go see him. Upon hearing this, Xiao Xian's mind snapped back to awareness. Could the Fan family be behind Jia's attack? She inquired, her concern evident. Chapter 1806. Bold Xiao Yunduan's expression twisted into a sneer. No doubt it's their doing. Rest, my wife. I'll return once I've dealt with These Euro. Xiao Xian nodded, her concern evident. Please go quickly. Jia Heming must be badly hurt. Don't disappoint him. Xiao Yunduan wasted no time and headed towards Jia Heming's location. The urgency of Sunbei's report hinted at the severity of Jia's injuries. Upon arrival, Xiao Yunduan was met with the sounds of Jia Heming's screams of pain emanating from the treatment room. He halted the well-wishers and approached Jia Heming directly. How serious is it? Are you in good hands? The doctor greeted him respectfully before offering his assessment. Lord, the injuries are mostly external, but there are more severe wounds on his left leg, arm, and lower back, including internal injuries. I've prepared medication to be taken thrice daily. If his condition stabilizes after 3 days, we can expect improvement. However, we must monitor for signs of concussion. He must rest and avoid strenuous activity. We'll reassess his condition in 3 days. Some of the external injuries will heal with proper treatment. The doctor's sympathetic sigh hinted at the severity of Jia's ordeal. Who could have orchestrated such a vicious attack against Scribe Jia? Jia Heming grimaced through the pain, his voice strained with bitterness. It's my own incompetence that led to this. I never anticipated such a betrayal. Xiao Yunduan's features hardened. Nor did I. Even he was taken aback by the audacity of the Fan clan's actions. Jia Heming, a scribe from the state government office, had approached the Fan family for official business. Not only did they refuse to cooperate, but they also had the audacity to confront him after he issued an ultimatum. Despite lacking intermediate officials or cultivated talents in the imperial court, the Fan family dared to provoke the officials to such an extent. A true local troublemaker. Given their lawlessness, Xiao Yunduan couldn't fault Jia for his predicament. With the doctor gone, Xiao Yunduan spoke in a hushed tone, urging Jia to recount the events slowly to avoid aggravating his wounds. Grateful for the Lord's attention, Jia Heming began by detailing the Fan family's refusal to cooperate with official matters. Their behavior had escalated, culminating in a confrontation when he issued the ultimatum. Initially, he was met with silence from the Fan family, but when he persisted, their servants aggressively chased him away. His fate didn't surprise him. However, upon returning home that evening, he fell victim to a plot. Xiao Yunduan turned to Sun Bai, his gaze unwavering. Find out who's responsible and bring them to me. Then launch an investigation into the Fan family. I want certainty. Though the Fan family likely orchestrated the attack, confirmation was necessary. Gathering evidence would be challenging, as it wouldn't be straightforward, and the Fan family would likely deny involvement, claiming they were framed. Taxation remained paramount, and Xiao Yinduan had no intention of being entangled in trivial matters. It wasn't worth it. As long as he confirmed that it was the Fan family who did it, he would teach them a lesson. One day tomorrow. Is that enough? Sunbai nodded. Lord, it won't take a day. All right, go. Yes, Lord. Chapter 1807. Investigate. Xiao Yinduan turned his gaze to Jia Heming. You can recuperate here in the office. Tomorrow, I'll arrange for Madam to bring your wife to take care of you. Don't worry about the medicine. His financial means could cover the medical expenses. Jia Heming's heart warmed, and he nodded in acknowledgement, enduring the pain as he cupped his hands and offered a slight bow. Thank you, Lord Euro. Rest well, Xiao Yinduan replied with a nod, casting a final glance at him before turning and exiting. He instructed an officer to attend to Jia's needs. Meanwhile, Sunbai wasted no time in mobilizing a team to investigate the assailant who attacked Jia Heming. The Fan family wouldn't directly leave evidence behind in such matters. They would likely conceal their identities and bribe local thugs to carry out their dirty work. These thugs were known for their readiness to commit any misdeed for the right price, particularly relishing opportunities to prey on the vulnerable. Such individuals were like parasites within the city, recognized by nearly everyone in their circles. As the constable of An's prefecture, Sunbai was intimately familiar with the dark underbelly of the region. These nefarious characters couldn't be eradicated entirely. As long as they operated within certain boundaries and didn't draw too much attention, they would evade scrutiny. However, when incidents occurred, it was relatively easy to uncover the truth within their network. Despite being newcomers, these thugs had established their own territories, each with its own leader. Within their respective zones, only locals could undertake tasks, and outsiders couldn't encroach upon their territory without consequences. However, if someone from another area undertook a job and passed it along, they would receive a portion of the proceeds. An's province, with its relatively small population and straightforward demographics, was rife with banditry, particularly due to the presence of several bandit nests nearby. These groups placed great emphasis on territorial boundaries, instilling fear in anyone who dared to infringe upon their domain. Sunbai was well aware of these dynamics. While a powerful clan like the Fan family might not grasp the intricacies of the underworld, he did. All he needed to do was locate the gang leader in the area and inquire about who had accepted the job that night. Fear of reprisal from the authorities kept most people compliant, but outright resistance was another matter entirely. There was no need for Sunbai to undertake this task personally. Accompanied by two skilled and trusted aides, he stealthily infiltrated the Fan family's mansion under the cover of night. The Fan family employed 2 martial artists to guard their estate, along with training their young and robust servants in basic combat techniques. Such precautions were common among the affluent families of An's province, where wealth often meant being a target for various threats. In the martial arts world, home guards required considerable upkeep. They demanded quality food, clothing, lodging, transportation, and even a servant, with the going rate this year hovering around 500 taels. The better the guard, the higher the price commanded. Take, for instance, the Mei family's renowned guards, each fetching a yearly salary of 1,000 taels of silver for their services. However, the Fan clan operated differently. They needed robust manpower for woodcutting and transportation in the mountains, preparing for potential emergencies. Consequently, they couldn't afford such lavish expenditures. Their guards were paid a modest sum of 400 taels annually, reflecting their limited martial prowess. With such lax security, sneaking in for Sunbai would be as effortless as flipping his hand. It seemed unlikely that the 2 old masters of the Fan family would orchestrate such a clumsy scheme. More likely culprits were either old Lady Fan herself, or the great-aunt who had inherited her cunning. Interrogating their trusted aides wouldn't prove too troublesome. Chapter 1808. Capture. Xiao Yinduan's inevitable clash with the 3 big families loomed closer with each passing day. Since his arrival, Sun Bai and his team had meticulously gathered intelligence on the inner workings of these influential households, familiarizing themselves with the layouts of their mansions. Without hesitation, Sun Bai made his move, targeting Fan Ruyan and her husband's courtyard. Fortune smiled upon him as he apprehended Granny Hang, Fan Ruyan's confidante, in the dead of night. Awakening to a sharp blade at her neck, the old woman trembled in terror, spilling every detail at Sun Bai's prompting. She absolved herself of blame, insisting she was merely a messenger, with Madame Yuezhing and Fan Ruyan orchestrating the scheme through the housekeeper. Unmoved by her pleas, Sun Bai swiftly rendered her unconscious and departed under the cloak of darkness. Simultaneously, the government office executed another successful arrest. Locating the local gang leader, they briefed him on the situation. With a knowing smile, the gang leader promptly dispatched his subordinates to investigate. In less than 2 hours, they had their suspects. For individuals quivering with fear, were brought in for questioning. These street-smart individuals swiftly realized the gravity of their situation. Having accepted a job mere hours earlier, each pocketing 8 taels of silver, they now found themselves in custody. It was clear that their sudden apprehension was no coincidence. In the shadows of the night, the intricate web of deception and intrigue continued to unravel. Regret gnawed at the 4 of them. They knew they shouldn't have accepted the job. Stealing small items from market stalls was one thing, but crossing paths with officials was an entirely different matter. Even though Jia Heming was just a lowly scribe, harming him was akin to insulting the entire government office. Their ill-fated decision had caught up with them. Trembling with fear, they dared not deceive their boss. Confessing immediately, they knelt on the ground, pleading for clemency. But mercy was not forthcoming. They were swiftly escorted back to the government office and thrown into jail. The following morning, Xiao Yunduan oversaw a public interrogation. The 4 were swiftly convicted, sentenced to 30 strokes of the cane, a fine of 20 taels of silver, and 6 months' imprisonment. Meanwhile, news of the proceedings reached Jia Heming's wife, Ms. Fong, who had come to the office to check on him. Witnessing the swift justice being meted out, she felt a sense of vindication. Wiping away her tears, she hurried back to her husband's side. Grateful for the support, she reflected on the kindness shown by Lord and Lady Xiao. They had offered comfort and assurance, promising justice for her husband, and ensuring he wouldn't suffer in vain. Madame Xiao stayed true to her promise. The spectators erupted into murmurs. Those with hidden agendas had to tread even more cautiously. Lord Xiao was clearly standing firmly behind the government official Ciuro among the prominent families. It was widely believed that the Fan family was behind this incident. However, no one expected the government to respond so swiftly. What transpired last night was resolved by morning. Clearly, the culprit had been apprehended overnight. Lord Xiao showed no leniency whatsoever. Many speculated about the sanity of the Fan family. What could have prompted old Lady Fan to act so recklessly? It seemed she was the only one capable of such brazen behavior. Chapter 1809. Going to the Fan family. If old Lady Fan had refrained from touching Scribe Jia, perhaps there would have been a chance to negotiate with Lord Xiao. They could have facilitated a few years of transition. But now, who could predict if Lord Xiao would still be around after that time? Yet, she couldn't risk causing trouble for Lord Xiao herself. Instead, she resorted to paying hooligans to rough up Scribe Jia. Now her options for retreat were blocked. Despite Lord Xiao's potential retaliation, no one dared to speak against him. News of the interrogation results swiftly reached the Fan family. Old Lady Fan sneered. He got off lightly. She harbored no regrets, nor did she feel any fear. Just a twinge of irritation at Xiao Yunduan's unexpected swiftness. Nanny Hang was privy to the events as well. Recalling the previous night sent shivers down her spine, her legs almost giving way from fear. She wouldn't dare breathe a word about what happened, not even to her master. Pretending it never occurred seemed the safest course. Yet, she dreaded the thought of that person returning or implicating Harayuro. Nanny Hang, usually resolute in aiding Fan Ruyan, now felt a disquieting unease. Her instincts warned her of impending trouble. Upon the verdict's announcement, Zhang Sang and his men barricaded the Fan family's exits, preventing anyone from leaving. The entire Fan clan was thrown into shock. And the news spread like wildfire throughout An's province, drawing a crowd outside the Fan family's gates, swelling with each passing moment. It resembled a bustling fair, if not even livelier. When Old Lady Fan received the news, she was in the midst of sipping cubelos soup with Fan Ruyan, and by Ruerue. Old Lady Fan nearly flung the cubelos bowl from her grasp. Absurd. What kind of twisted logic is this? Her voice crackled with anger as she rose to her feet. I'll see who dares to stop me from leaving. Mom. Fan Ruyan was taken aback, but quickly intervened. Please calm yourself. You're the matriarch of our family, our guiding light. There's no need for you to personally handle such trivial matters. I assure you, there's no evidence left from last night's incident. If anyone dares to confront us, they'll have to apologize. Old Lady Fan softened at her daughter's words. If you say so, then fine. Fan Ruyan smiled reassuringly. I'm certain. The silver he handed over appeared as ordinary banknotes. The messenger sent to deal with the hooligans was a trusted servant from the village, his face obscured. As for witnesses, they were easily swayed or coerced by the government into falsehoods and framing others. Lord Xiao's influence was indeed formidable. And where were elder brother and second brother when all this happened? And sister-in-law and second sister-in-law Euro Fan Ruyan seized any opportunity to tease her siblings, a habit she couldn't seem to break. Old Lady Fan's expression darkened at the mention, a disdainful snort escaping her lips. First Old Master Fan and second Old Master Fan rushed in, their wives trailing anxiously behind. Mother, what's happening? Yes, what is Lord Xiao playing at? Despite her initial displeasure at Fan Ruyan's jab, Old Lady Fan's frustration dwindled slightly. Chapter 1810. Locking the door. Why would I know? Are you here to interrogate me? Eldest Old Master, second Old Master, and their wives stood in stunned silence, exchanging bewildered glances. They couldn't fathom why their mother was once again directing her anger towards them. First Madame Fan and second Mrs. Fan, positioned nearby with lowered heads, inwardly sneered. Was there even a need to ask? Couldn't they see who was standing right here? Had she ever refrained from meddling? No, Mother, please don't misunderstand. We came specifically to discuss how to handle this situation. Eldest Old Master stammered. Yes. Second Old Master chimed in. Old Lady Fan's sneer deepened. They're already at our doorstep. What do you propose? They want to accuse the Fan family without evidence. Do they think we're pushovers? Chase them away quickly. Initially, the two old masters harbored some hope, but now, they were convinced their mother must have orchestrated the assault on Jia Heming the previous night. And their biological sister was likely involved too. They felt utterly powerless. This wasn't the time for reckless confrontation with Lord Xiao. They needed to strategize, consider all options and escape routes before making a move. How could they act so impulsively? Jia Heming was a clerk from the state government office, a member of the government. Everyone in An's province knew he was Lord Xiao's right-hand man. Striking him would be a direct affront to Lord Xiao. Was Lord Xiao someone to trifle with? The individuals assaulted the previous night, and the hired hooligans were apprehended. Today, the hooligans faced severe punishment, and now, someone had come to the Fan family Euro. The two brothers sighed inwardly, knowing better than to criticize their mother. They often joked that their biological sister could provoke their mother with just 10 words. Mother, fret not. We'll handle the negotiations. Without evidence, it's not easy to tarnish our family's name, Eldest Old Master assured. Then get on with it. Old Lady Fan snapped. The brothers felt a slight relief. If their mother spoke so confidently, the other party likely lacked evidence. They trusted her judgment. Though she could be domineering, she wouldn't leave herself vulnerable to accusations. As long as there was no evidence, they should be fine. Accompanied by the butler, guards, and servants, the brothers swung the door open with a resounding bang, fixing stern gazes on Zheng Sang and his cohorts. The air grew taut, charged with tension. Constable Zheng, what's the meaning of this? Eldest Old Master's voice cut through the silence, his demeanor icy. Zheng Sang met his gaze squarely. He scoffed, a faint smile playing on his lips. Are you truly unaware? Or are you feigning ignorance? Don't play dumb. Second old master retorted sharply. Constable Zhang, refrain from baseless accusations. Evidence is required for any claims. Indeed. Lord Xiao is known for his integrity and clear judgment. It's inconceivable he would resort to tyranny, eldest old master added. Zhang Sang chuckled. Our lord embodies fairness and clarity, which sometimes invites the misconception that he's easily manipulated. It's best you come clean now. Refusal may not bode well. Preposterous. Second old master snapped. We won't confess to a crime we didn't commit. Just because Scribe Jia was assaulted doesn't implicate our family. Without evidence, you have no grounds to target us. Chapter 1811. To reveal what one was intended to hide, first old master Fan sneered, his gaze challenging. Zhang Sang met his stare head-on. Do you share his sentiment? Absolutely, first old master Fan replied, his tone deliberate. We believe in reason and legality. Zhang Sang smirked. So, you also believe Scribe Jia's situation has no bearing on your family? It's irrelevant. Zhang Sang's smirk deepened. Interesting. So the assault on Scribe Jia, leaving him severely injured, is entirely disconnected from the Fan family. But when did I mention Scribe Jia? Realization dawned on the faces of those present. Indeed, Constable Zhang had never once mentioned Scribe Jia. The Fan family's old masters had brought him up unprompted. It was a clear indication of guilt, a slip-up revealing what they sought to conceal. The two old masters stood dumbfounded, realizing they'd been outmaneuvered. Though not admissible in court, the implication was glaring to all present, a humiliating blow. Scribe Jia's assault last night and Constable Zhang's visit this morning naturally raised suspicions. Why else would you be here? First old master attempted to rationalize. Zhang Sang scoffed. You truly don't know why I'm here? Yet, you immediately jump to the conclusion of Scribe Jia's involvement. Perhaps you're overly perceptive or conveniently forgetful. Make yourself clear. Second old master Fan had learned his lesson and was no longer led by the nose by him. Zhang Sang brandished the document Jia Hemming had delivered to the Fan family the previous day, his tone icy. Scribe Jia has visited your premises thrice. You should be well aware of his purpose. Today marks the deadline for your cooperation with the government's investigation into your fields. Refusal will result in consequences. So, will you accompany me now to aid in the thorough investigation? Or shall I proceed to seal the residence? Lord Xiao insists on resolution today. Noncompliance will lead to immediate sealing of your residence, followed by your shops tomorrow. Subsequently, stewards from all Fan family farms will be summoned to the government office until you comply. Mind you, Lord Xiao cares for his subjects like his own kin. Your family may dispatch one individual, accompanied by 2 servants for daily purchases. However, all carriages must undergo inspection, with only the coachman permitted to accompany them. Do you two have anything else to say? The hearts of the 2 old masters of the Fan family turned cold. They had really forgotten about this. This was because they had never thought that the government would have the guts to do this to the Fan family. They were acutely aware of the numerous fertile fields the Fan clan had kept hidden and unregistered. If they were to rectify this now, it would mean relinquishing further sums of money annually, and the inevitable upheaval at their mother's residence loomed large. They might even have to dip into their personal funds to smooth things over. The mere thought of it caused a pang of anxiety. Among the onlookers, murmurs spread like wildfire. So that's the situation. Lord Xiao means business. It's about time. Why do these wealthy families avoid taxes? Exactly. With all their wealth, they still resort to such underhanded tactics. Shameless greed, I say. Chapter 1812. Mixing. The richer you are, the stingier you are. Who would think that they have too much money? That's what Lord Xiao should do. These 2 old masters are interesting. They actually forgot such a big matter, and actually confessed. Hee. Hang on. Zhang Sang's gaze gleamed with confidence. His entourage comprised individuals of utmost utility, some his own trusted allies, others former bailiffs now honed into formidable agents. Their presence alone exerted a palpable pressure on the Fan family. And even if, by some miracle, the Fan family could muster the strength to oppose them, who would dare attack officials in broad daylight, especially after witnessing the fate of those hooligans? Risking a beating and imprisonment was simply unthinkable. The two old masters of the Fan family grasped the grim reality. Unless they conceded defeat, there was no end in sight to this standoff. Perhaps they could have negotiated, but after the events of the previous night, such a prospect seemed futile. Lord Xiao wouldn't entertain further discussions. Moreover, criticism of Lord Xiao was off limits. After all, the Fan clan had initiated hostilities. Even lacking concrete evidence, their guilt was clear to all. But capitulating under such circumstances would be a bitter pill to swallow. Just then, Deputy Prefect Guan hurried over with two attendants. His heart skipped a beat at the sight before him. After exchanging pleasantries, he addressed the pressing issue at hand. This situation can't be allowed to linger. We must find a resolution. How about this? First Old Master Fan, second Old Master Fan, let's convene inside and discuss matters further. Seeing a potential resolution, the two old masters of the Fan family breathed a sigh of relief, nodding in agreement as they courteously ushered Deputy Prefect Guan into the Fan residence. Having Deputy Prefect Guan present was ideal. He could facilitate discussions with their mother. Zheng Sang raised no objections, personally positioning his men to guard the residence's entrance, ensuring no one could leave while allowing entry. He mused that Lord Xiao's judgment had been correct. Deputy Prefect Guan should have remained in the crowd, intervening only as a last resort. Since Lord Xiao had assigned this task to him, it was fitting for him to take charge now. He anticipated the outcome of negotiations between Deputy Prefect Guan and the Fan family. Old Lady Fan was notorious for her stubbornness. As expected, Old Lady Fan erupted in fury, hurling curses in Deputy Prefect Guan's direction. Though not explicitly directed at him, he still felt uneasy. After all, he held a middling official position. Yet, Deputy Prefect Guan lacked the confidence and authority to confront the Fan family as Xiao Yunduan would. He had no choice but to endure Old Lady Fan's tirade, avoiding any direct association with the scolding. It was during this confrontation that Deputy Prefect Guan learned of the Fan family's extensive land holdings euro, over 260,000 mu, with only 150,000 mu officially registered with the government. Over 50,000 mu remained concealed. Considering the scarcity of paddy fields in An's province, this was a substantial sum, akin to the fertile lands of Jiangnan. Deputy Prefect Guan was stunned. Old Lady Fan adamantly refused to pay taxes on these unregistered lands, citing the family's historical contributions to the government. She implored Lord Xiao to show mercy, warning that further pressure from him would only lead to mutual destruction. Chapter 1813. Bold the two old masters of the Fan family skillfully persuaded their mother, while subtly hinting to Deputy Prefect Guan about the benefits they sought. Simultaneously, they exerted both coaxing and force to sway his decision. Deputy Prefect Guan found himself irresistibly drawn to the promised benefits from the Fan family, amounting to 200 taels of silver annually. Considering his salary fell short of this amount to him, this represented a significant sum, especially in his current financial predicament, compounded by his failed instigation of the bailiffs, resulting in substantial financial losses. He was in dire need of funds. Moreover, the Fan family's proposition held weight. As deputy prefect, his actions could easily go unnoticed by Xiao Yunduan. And even if they were discovered, Xiao Yunduan lacked the power to penalize him. Gritting his teeth, Deputy Prefect Guan reluctantly acquiesced. That day, negotiations between Deputy Prefect Guan and the Fan family concluded in a unanimous agreement. The family dispatched a butler, while Guan arranged for an investigation of the fertile lands. It was eventually discovered that the Fan family had neglected to register 10,000 mu of fertile fields with the government. Deputy Prefect Guan promptly reported the findings to Xiao Yunduan and rectified the oversight. Upon review, Xiao Yunduan nodded approvingly and instructed Deputy Prefect Guan to continue his duties. With the Fan clan serving as an example, subsequent tasks became more manageable. The Fan clan's resolute stance had nearly caused them embarrassment. None could match their determination. Though the Mei family and the Hua family might have posed comparably, their lack of interest and contention was apparent from the outset. Deputy Prefect Guan basked in his self-satisfaction, boasting profusely in the provincial office and metaphorically treading upon Jia Heming. What use was Jia Heming? He sneered. Incompetence, he concluded, was synonymous with trouble. Not only did they fail to resolve matters, but they also stirred up chaos, causing suffering not only for themselves but also for those around them. Meanwhile, Jia Heming, still recovering, seethed with anger. Yet Deputy Prefect Guan's satisfaction only swelled further. The Fan family, though outwardly accepting of the outcome, harbored deep dissatisfaction. Formerly paying nominal taxes, they now faced a staggering sum, forced to declare 160,000 mu, a substantial burden. This was a financial blow. Were it not for Lord Xiao's unwavering stance, they would not have capitulated so readily. Now, having concealed tens of thousands of mu, they salvaged what little dignity remained. The Fan clan, however, perceived no wrongdoing. Xiao had taken a sizable chunk from them. Could they not resist? Even if he were aware, turning a blind eye was expected. This realization didn't escape others' notice. Observing the Fan clan's ability to conceal such vast holdings, many were tempted to follow suit. After all, who would complain of excess wealth? Hoarding seemed the prudent choice, a long-term strategia. Buoyed by this scheme, Deputy Prefect Guan grew bolder. Why should he pass up such a lucrative opportunity? He congratulated himself on a job well done. The resolution coincided with the approaching August 15th festival, with the autumn harvest following shortly after. During the Mid-Autumn Festival, Xiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan found themselves amidst a bustling gathering, far from the solitude of previous years. Ainan's appearance seemed to evolve daily. His once small eyebrows now flourished, framing his fair and tender visage. Adorable hardly captured his essence, particularly his captivating eyes, reminiscent of lustrous black grapes, shimmering with an enchanting watery allure capable of softening any heart. Though not yet a month old, he couldn't yet partake in moon-gazing, but he delighted in meeting the various guests. Among them were Zheng Sang, Ms. Song, Ms. Miao, and Xiao Qiao, all converging upon the state office for the festivities. With the addition of Mian Mian, Yi, Sun Bai, Sun Qian, Song Shi, Li Xia, Li Qiu and Kai Yun, the atmosphere surpassed even that of the New Year celebrations. Chapter 1814. Mid-autumn Yuezheng Xiao dispatched a messenger to deliver an array of gifts. Fresh and rare fruits, delectable mooncakes, and assorted sweets adorned every corner, appearing effortlessly placed yet exuding an air of casual elegance. The children, delighted by the treats, bubbled with joy. Acknowledging the diligence of everyone in the office, Xiao Yunduan distributed 2 taels of silver as holiday bonuses along with 2 boxes of premium mooncakes from the esteemed Guanchuan garden in the city, a gesture extended even to the bailiffs. This gesture sparked a wave of jubilation and gratitude among the staff. Praises such as Lord Xiao's wisdom knows no bounds, and his kindness knows no limit, echoed, accompanied by expressions of unwavering loyalty. The outpouring of appreciation was boundless, a testament to the unprecedented treatment bestowed upon them. The mooncakes, crafted by the city's finest, Guanchuan garden, were not mere trifles. Each box contained 6 sumptuous pieces, priced at a considerable 100 copper coins per box. Furthermore, the inclusion of 2 taels of silver was significant. Even the most ordinary bailiffs and servants possessed such wealth. Considering their modest monthly earnings €, 2 taels for the bailiffs and 1 tael for the servants €, the bonus was indeed substantial. That evening, the east courtyard of the state government office transformed into a scene of festivity, with 5 large round tables accommodating all. The culinary feast, masterfully orchestrated by Ms. Song, Li Xia, and others under Qiao Xian's guidance, featured an impressive spread. From steamed mandarin fish to dongpa meat, potato chicken to braised ribs, and a plethora of other delectable dishes, the menu was a testament to their culinary prowess. Qiao Xian even saw fit to procure some fine wine for the occasion. Amidst the convivial atmosphere, Xiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan, once considered as intermediate figures, forged a bond as they engaged in lively conversation and shared laughter. As the moon hung high overhead, a mutual understanding prevailed among the attendees. Aware that Madame was still in confinement, they bid their farewells respectfully before relocating to continue their merriment. Anan had been thoroughly entertained throughout the day, leaving him pleasantly fatigued and ready for a restful night's sleep. Meanwhile, Xiao Yunduan and Qiao Xian sat together by the window, gazing up at the radiant full moon above. Though Qiao Xian's appearance remained unchanged, her pale countenance gradually flushed with color. Her eyes sparkled with vitality, yet despite her energy, Xiao Yunduan remained steadfast in keeping her confined indoors during her recovery period. Though Qiao Xian knew she had fully recuperated and had no need for a month-long confinement, tradition held sway, with everyone from Xiao Yunduan to Ms. Song, Li Xia, and Li Qiu insisting on adherence to custom. Thus, Qiao Xian found herself resigned to her room. As the night progressed into the midpoint of autumn, with more than half of her confinement period behind her, Xiao Yunduan considered himself fortunate to share this tranquil moment with his wife, peering at the moon's luminous glow through the window. The moonlight cast a gentle glow, illuminating the courtyard below. Flowers, branches, and leaves danced in its ethereal radiance, casting intricate patterns of light and shadow upon the ground. The scene evoked a sense of whimsical beauty, reminiscent of coral formations, adding an enchanting aura to the surroundings. The air itself seemed to shimmer with clarity, akin to sunlight filtering through crystal-clear waters. This mid-autumn celebration is particularly lively, isn't it? It's been a while since we've experienced such vibrancy during the intermediate autumn. I imagine the excitement will only escalate come the new year, remarked Qiao Xian, nestled contentedly in Xiao Yunduan's embrace. Indeed, agreed Xiao Yunduan, his gaze tenderly fixed upon his cherished wife. And as time goes on, the festivities will only grow grander. Next year, as Anan continues to grow, perhaps we can invite our parents to join in the celebrations. Chapter 1815. Haven't tried it yet. Qiao Xian couldn't help but chuckle at the thought. Anan would only be a year old next year. Hardly the time for him to cause a stir. After all, he hadn't even reached toddlerhood yet. But imagining the little one's future antics filled Qiao Xian with excitement once more. Her eyes gleamed with anticipation, her smile growing even more radiant and warm. Xiao Yunduan, his gaze deep with affection, gently caressed her waist with one hand. Leaning in, he planted a tender kiss on her cheek, his voice a soft murmur against her ear. You seem to have filled out a bit. Qiao Xian's senses sharpened instantly. Tilting her chin up, she widened her eyes in mock offense. Are you saying I'm getting fat? Postpartum, every woman harbored concerns about regaining their pre-pregnancy figure. Such sensitivities couldn't be brushed off casually, especially by her husband. In truth, Qiao Xian had shed much of her pregnancy weight. Her affinity with the wood element boded well for her physical recovery, assuring her of returning to peak condition in due time. Upon realizing this, she relaxed. After all, who wouldn't be conscious of their appearance? Her concerns were for herself alone. Of course not. Xiao Yunduan reassured her, enfolding her in his embrace with a soft chuckle. You're perfect just the way you are. You were beautiful before, and you're beautiful now. Qiao Xian couldn't contain her laughter. Gazing up at him, she teased. So which is €1 better, before or now? Xiao Yunduan's smile deepened, a hint of mischief dancing in his eyes as he replied suggestively. I know what was good before, but I've yet to experience the pleasures of now. A rosy blush spread across Qiao Xian's cheeks, her eyes alight with playful embarrassment. She attempted to maintain her composure as she inquired. Experience what? Regret immediately washed over her. Why did she ask? She wished she could retract the question the moment it left her lips. True to form, Xiao Yunduan's chuckle grew more intimate as he drew her closer, whispering something in her ear that caused her blush to deepen. Finally, he kissed her with such fervor that she melted into his embrace, the boundaries of her confinement momentarily forgotten. Following the mid-autumn festivities, Qiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan turned their attention to planning their son's one-month-old banquet. Having received congratulations from most well-wishers already, they focused on finalizing the guest list and menu. Qiao Xian expressed a desire to highlight potatoes, intending to promote their culinary versatility. After deliberation, they settled on 2 potato-centric dishes: stir-fried shredded potatoes with a tangy, slightly spicy flavor, and fried potato pancakes. These would be served alongside steamed buns and fried dumplings, providing a hearty main course. Xiao Yunduan readily agreed, praising the potential of potatoes. Indeed, it's an excellent choice. I've observed the potato crops, both here and in the capital, and they're thriving. With high yields and adaptability to various climates, promoting them could be a boon, especially for regions facing agricultural challenges. Even in times of plenty, they offer sustenance to impoverished families with limited land. Grinning fondly at his wife, he continued, "Any merit accrued in Anne's province will undoubtedly be attributed to you, my dear. Marrying you has been the greatest blessing of my life." Chapter 18:16. Gain Xiaoxian's heart swelled with warmth, though she refrained from voicing it aloud. "Oh, you're quite the charmer," she teased. Xiao Yunduan chuckled, planting a tender kiss on her lips. His wife's playful pretense only endeared her to him further, igniting an urge to draw her closer. With the decision made to feature potatoes at the banquet, Xiaoxian promptly issued orders for their harvest. Months of development, cultivation, and planting had transformed the landscape. The once rough terrain now boasted a meticulously maintained road, wide enough for 2 carriages to pass comfortably. Its surface, compacted and reinforced with a layer of crushed stones, remained resilient against rain-induced erosion. Across the sprawling expanse, medicinal herbs and potatoes thrived. Though some herbs required years to mature, their lush growth signaled Xiao Yunduan's enduring commitment to Anne's province, hinting at multiple terms of governance. Anticipating the next planting season, Xiaoxian outlined plans to introduce additional crops like Gastrodia elata, Baikal skullcap, and false starworts in the forested slopes. As the harvest season approached for the 2,000 mu of potatoes, news of the novel crop spread swiftly, fueled by the efforts of Songshi, Lu Fu, Mianmian, and others. Despite the populace's anticipation, many had yet to taste the tubers, prompting a surge of curiosity and speculation. Upon the conclusion of Ainan's 1-month-old banquet, Xiaoxian intended to gradually introduce the potatoes to the market, offering them in limited quantities for culinary use, sustenance, and seed propagation. Additionally, she planned to provide free guidance on planting and cultivation techniques, ensuring widespread adoption and prosperity. As for 2,000 mu, after being activated by her superpower, the yield was at least 4,000 caddies. It was enough to supply them all together. After all, not everyone was so accepting. Not everyone would buy it. It was still early for 50,000 mu in the forest. This winter, they would hire more people during the farming time. It would be best if they could all cultivate the land and plant pepper, star anise, and pepper next year. The 1,000 mu of Sichuan peppers this year were also growing very well. The seeds planted were originally 2 years old, and they could hang fruits next year. Xiao Yunduan and Xiaoxian's actions were very eye-catching. They dug potatoes with great fanfare and hired so many people, which attracted a lot of attention. Amidst the potato harvesting operation, crowds gathered, some to witness the spectacle, others with less noble intentions, seeking to poach from the bountiful fields. Witnessing the remarkably high production rate, many onlookers were astounded, prompting a barrage of skeptical inquiries. Would the potatoes taste palatable? Could they truly satisfy hunger? Were they versatile enough to serve as both a staple and a vegetable? Seizing the opportunity, Songshi and his cohorts reiterated the merits of the crop, assuaging doubts and reaffirming its potential. They announced plans to commence sales after the young master's 1-month-old banquet, inviting all interested parties to purchase. However, the Fan family and Mrs. Guan sneered at these efforts, dismissing them as mere profit-seeking schemes. Ignorant of the crop's characteristics and benefits, they failed to recognize its value beyond monetary gain. Chapter 18:17. 1-month-old banquet. Some individuals found themselves genuinely intrigued by Madame Xiao's confident assertions, reasoning that she wouldn't risk implicating Lord Xiao unless she spoke the truth. With plans to purchase the potatoes when they became available, they saw little harm in giving them a try or even cultivating some themselves. On the day of Ainan's 1-month-old banquet, the state government office buzzed with activity. Dozens of tables adorned the backyard, where male guests congregated, while female guests occupied seats in the east courtyard. Xiaoxian summoned a cadre of trusted individuals: Ms. Song, Ms. Miao, Xiao Qiao, Songshi, Qingyan, Mianmian, Li Xia, Li Qiu, Kaiwe, and Kaiyunayuro, to assist with the day's preparations. Each was assigned specific tasks, ensuring seamless coordination throughout the festivities. While the garden affairs could be managed with the help of Sun Bai, Sun Qian, and other bailiffs, the East Courtyard demanded unwavering attention to prevent any mishaps during the celebration. It was imperative to maintain the utmost decorum, especially when attending to the guests. As the guests arrived for the 1-month-old celebration, all eyes naturally turned to the baby. Nanny Kaiming and her assistants, Kaiyun and Kaiyue, remained on high alert, steadfast in their duty to safeguard Ainan's well-being. Throughout the day, Li Xia and her counterparts remained vigilant, discreetly attending to the needs of both guests and maidservants. However, notable absentees included the Fan clan, who harbored a desire to attend but ultimately refrained. Old Lady Fan's previous misjudgment, influenced by Fan Rian's slander, had strained relations. Until formally invited by Qiao Xian and Xiao Yunduan, they remained on the sidelines, unsure of their welcome. Despite being one of the 3 prominent families in An's province, the Fan clan anticipated deference from the prefect lord, given their stature. Moreover, their recent cooperation in the investigation of land holdings had already demonstrated their willingness to cooperate, providing the prefect lord with sufficient face. However, to their surprise, no representatives from the Xiao family arrived. As time ticked on, it became increasingly apparent that no invitation would be forthcoming. Old Lady Fan's initial disappointment swiftly turned to indignation. "This is outrageous. Outrageous. I won't forget this." Fueling her fire, Fan Rian speculated. "I suppose it's because we showed leniency this time, making the prefect lord think we're easy prey. They're taking advantage of our generosity. But mark my words, when the prefect lord departs An's province, their true colors will show." Frustrated, Old Lady Fan found herself yearning for the mountain bandits of yesteryear, once feared but now wished for to humble Lord Xiao. The Fan family's elders hesitated to approach Old Lady Fan, foreseeing the inevitable ridicule that would follow their absence. While other families eagerly attended the state office banquet, the absence of the Fan clan was met with little surprise or disappointment. Reflecting on the situation, the first old master and madam lamented, "Mother's temperament remains unchanged, but the current prefect lord is not like his predecessors. How times have changed." The first Madam Fan remained silent, well aware of past tensions between their families, particularly involving the prefect's daughter, who had suffered indignities at the hands of Bararui. Chapter 1818. Potatoes. Such incidents were not isolated occurrences for the Fan clan. Accustomed to their privileged status, Old Lady Fan and her daughter had long held themselves above others. Historically, the prefect lords lacked the confidence and authority to challenge the entrenched power of long-standing families like theirs, relying on their support for various matters. However, the current prefect lord was a different breed. Unfazed by the Fan clan's haughty demeanor, he represented a new era, one where their arrogance was met with resistance. Inwardly, First Madam Fan couldn't help but feel that her mother's arrogance had invited their current misfortune. Perhaps it's fitting, she mused to herself, for her to face consequences for her perpetual arrogance. Although she agreed with her husband's assessment, First Madam Fan maintained a facade of gentility. "Mother is of noble birth," she offered diplomatically. "I believe Lord Xiao and Madam Xiao have shown undue disrespect. Regardless, our mother is an elder and deserves reverence." Observing his wife's tactful response, the first old master smiled knowingly, choosing not to press the matter further. He understood the delicate balance required in navigating their family dynamics, especially concerning Old Lady Fan's sensibilities. "Perhaps I should speak with Mother and attempt to reason with her," he suggested tentatively, acknowledging the need for diplomacy in managing familial conflicts. First Madam Fan couldn't help but sneer inwardly at her husband's suggestion. "If you think you can persuade her, be prepared for a scolding in return." "I'm not sure. Perhaps we should consult with my sister-in-law first," she suggested, masking her contempt with a veneer of diplomacy. The first old master's heart sank at the prospect. Frowning, he sighed inwardly, realizing that he would need to tread carefully. Perhaps it was best to keep certain matters hidden from his mother and sister going forward. He found himself fervently wishing for the prefect lord's transfer, hoping to alleviate the tensions within his family. Meanwhile, in the state office's backyard, guests were treated to a traditional banquet spread. While the dishes were sumptuous, many of the women had previously sampled Xiao Xian's delectable cooking and were eager for something new. Their anticipation peaked when stir-fried shredded potatoes were served a novel dish prepared from Madame Xiao's potatoes. The golden strands, lightly sautéed with green peppers, exuded an enticing aroma, piquing everyone's interest. As they sampled the dish, they were delighted by its crispy texture and tangy, spicy flavor a refreshing departure from the usual fare. The arrival of potato pancakes further impressed the guests, who praised the unique fragrance and flavor. "It's delicious. Who knew potatoes could taste this good? Lord and Madame Xiao have truly brought something special to Anne's province. They're so considerate." The consensus was clear. The introduction of potatoes had elevated the culinary experience and won the admiration of all present. Chapter 18-19. It looks very effective, true. Euro 30% of the praises were mere compliments, but a staggering 70% emanated from genuine appreciation. The flavor was commendable, versatile enough for cooking various dishes, even pancakes. The maidservants' casual mentions of different cooking techniques added an air of reliability and allure to the dishes. Many attendees anticipated the opening of Madame Xiao's stall for purchase. They planned to procure some and experiment with additional recipes in their kitchens. Despite their affluence, the attendees pondered the significance of such provisions, acknowledging the potential boon they could provide during times of scarcity or calamity. Xiao Xian regarded the matter with earnestness, her satisfaction evident as Li Xia and others relayed the feedback to her with smiles. Xiao Xian's genuine happiness was palpable. Whether it was due to the dish's deliciousness or her personal preference, authenticity shone through. She understood that insincere praise would not enhance the dish's appeal. Purposefully, Xiao Xian ensured the other dishes remained subdued, allowing the spotlight to remain on the potatoes. Her strategy proved effective. As the banquet concluded, guests departed gradually. Some lingered, indulging in drinks until the moon adorned the night sky before bidding their farewells. Xiao Yunduan remained silent until he dispatched someone to inquire. Xiao Xian had already drifted into sleep, as had Anan, who had spent the day in joyful activity. After ensuring his son was settled, Xiao Yunduan entered the bedroom. The rustle of his clothes roused Xiao Xian from her half-slumber. Her drowsy gaze brightened at the sight of him, accompanied by a gentle smile. Her words came out in a soft murmur. "You're back. Are they gone too?" Xiao Yunduan nodded, a soft chuckle escaping his lips as he settled beside her, enfolding her in his embrace. "Why are you awake? Aren't you tired?" Xiao Xian returned the smile. "Of course I am tired. I've been on edge all day because of your son. I've been so tense, not daring to relax for a second, fearing something might happen. Thankfully, the Fan family wasn't present today. I've silently thanked them countless times." Xiao Yunduan chuckled, planting kisses on her forehead and cheeks. "Seems like the Fan family isn't so bad after all. You're quite sensible, right?" she responded with a soft laugh. Their smiles met in silent understanding. Xiao Yunduan's gaze softened as he spoke gently. "My son has exhausted you today. As his father, I must make it up to you." Xiao Xian's eyes twinkled mischievously. "And how do you plan to do that?" His smile deepened. "Remember this, and when the time is right, we'll repay you with interest." A warmth spread in Xiao Xian's heart, and she playfully scolded him. "Let's just go to sleep." After all, there was nothing more he could do. Why make things difficult for himself? Chapter 18-20. Promoting potatoes. Xiao Yunduan chuckled and drew her into his embrace, gently patting her shoulders. "Yes, sleep." Xiao Xian's lips curled into a contented smile. The familiar comfort of his chest provided a sense of security, and soon she drifted back into slumber. Taking advantage of the momentum, the day following Anan's 1-month-old banquet, the potatoes were launched onto the market. With the advantage of their own territory, there was no need for cumbersome procedures or stall arrangements. Under Song's guidance, 4 potato sales points were strategically positioned in bustling areas across the city center. 2 days into the sale, a simple cooking setup was added beside each point. Potatoes were prepared on-site, offering passers-by free samples cooked in various styles. The display showcased the versatility of potatoes in culinary creations. Every 2 hours, fresh batches of complementary dishes were prepared. Potato pancakes, spicy and sour shredded potatoes, stir-fried potato cubes, potato slices, steamed potatoes, and more, including a daily serving of deep-fried potatoes. Sold at a modest price of 4 copper coins per caddy, the potatoes were limited to 10 caddies per purchase, with a maximum of 20 caddies allowed for wealthy families or restaurants. Those desiring more had to join the queue once again. Furthermore, it was made clear that the supply was limited, and once sold out, customers would have to wait until the next year. Xiao Xian had anticipated skepticism from the commoners and expected a challenging promotional effort, thus necessitating a gradual acceptance strategy. To her surprise, the process unfolded remarkably smoothly. Generous purchases came from the affluent families who had sampled the potatoes at Ainan's banquet, while well-informed restaurants swiftly followed suit. Observing this trend, other establishments quickly jumped on the bandwagon. The commoners held Lord Xiao in high esteem for his integrity, and the Xiao family's products, being reasonably priced, found favor among them. As queues lengthened, others instinctively joined in without hesitation, recognizing the popularity and value of the product. From 2,000 mu of land, approximately 4,500 caddies of potatoes were harvested, totaling around 9 million caddies. Xiao Xian retained seeds for future cultivation on the same land and set aside a portion as gifts, mainly in gratitude for contributions from Zheng Sang and others. The remaining half was divided between An's prefecture city and 17 surrounding towns. In less than 10 days, nearly 9 million caddies of potatoes were swiftly sold out. These gestures of generosity were warmly received by scribes and bailiffs, garnering praise for Lord and Madame Xiao. Upon bringing the potatoes home, families wasted no time in preparing and relishing them. Whether stir-fried, stewed, or prepared in other ways, the taste proved exceptional. The following day, conversations buzzed within the government office as many shared their enthusiasm. Families flocked to the market early to secure their share, drawn by the delicious, practical, and affordably priced product. The buzz around potatoes quickly enveloped the entire city. Restaurants experienced a surge in potato orders, with almost every table opting to sample the versatile tuber. However, notably absent from the buyer's list was the Fan family. Fearful of old lady Fan's disapproval, no member of the Fan family dared to purchase the potatoes, as it was Madame Xiao who introduced them to the city during Lord Xiao's baby's 1-month-old banquet. Chapter 1821. The Fan family won't buy. However, curiosity stirred among the Fan household. Some servants clandestinely purchased the potatoes, which families then shared among themselves, eagerly cooking and tasting the newfound delicacy. Even first Madame Fan and second Mrs. Fan personally instructed their staff to procure and prepare some in the household kitchen. The verdict? The potatoes proved surprisingly delightful. Whether in the form of sour and spicy shredded potatoes, or when incorporated into chicken and pork dishes, they offered a delightful variety of flavors. Observing the positive reception, First Madame Fan couldn't help but express her admiration to First Old Master Fan. If Madame Xiao's claims hold true, Lord Xiao and Madame Xiao have performed a great service for the people here. Such benevolence might attract heavenly blessings. Her gaze implied a caution against opposing Lord Xiao, hinting at potential repercussions. First Old Master Fan understood the subtext well, yet he lacked final authority within the Fan family's decisions. Meanwhile, Old Lady Fan caught wind of the servants' fervent discussions about potatoes. Intrigued by their enthusiasm, she summoned someone to inquire. The maidservant, flustered and tongue-tied, hesitated to respond. As Old Lady Fan pressed for answers, the maidservant eventually divulged the truth, albeit clumsily. Enraged by the revelation, Old Lady Fan demanded further investigation. Upon learning the extent of the commotion, her fury only intensified. How dare you engage in such self-serving behavior, causing such a stir? Lord Xiao and Madame Xiao must be consumed by greed. With the sale of these potatoes, they stand to make a fortune in silver taels. Drawing from her experience as a member of the Nian family, Old Lady Fan swiftly calculated the potential profits. her displeasure growing with each passing moment. The ease with which Lord Xiao seemingly amassed wealth from 2,000 mu of arid land only fueled her indignation. It appeared, in her estimation, that money was being earned far too effortlessly. Those people lack foresight. They don't even have the right to curry favor with Lord Xiao and Madame Xiao. Yet they're all scrambling to shower Lord Xiao and Madame Xiao with gifts. Let's see how far that gets them in the future. Old Lady Fan complained and derided them. The servants dared not utter a sound, even in their sleep. Let me be clear. Our family is prohibited from purchasing such items. Others may desire them, but I do not, she asserted firmly, prompting the servants to hastily agree. Yuezhing Xiao arrived bearing generous gifts for Ainan's 1-month-old banquet. Although Xie Jingrong was absent, Yuezhing Xiao had arranged for the gifts to be delivered. Staying for 3 days, Yuezhing Xiao's visit prompted Qiao Xian to task Mian with bringing 2 companions to assess properties in Yuzhong. With the year drawing to a close, it presented an opportune time to settle accounts with Yuezhing Xiao and collect any owed funds. Simultaneously, she planned to return to Shouting Village. Despite Yuezhing Xiao's previous correspondence, the personal touch of a servant's visit held a different significance. Mian excelled in managing accounts, bringing clarity and order to financial matters with ease. Qiao Xian was both surprised and pleased. She appointed 2 assistants to support Mian, ensuring smooth operation and expansion of her enterprises without straining manpower. While Qiao Xian initially considered sending Yi home with Mian, Xiao Yunduan noted Yi's prior commitments, prompting Mian to decline. With Yuezhing Xiao, there was no need for an escort. As rice ripened one after another, farmers began harvesting, aided by Qiao Xian's supernatural abilities which significantly increased yields and accelerated ripening dates. Chapter 1822. Qiao Xian's plan: the rice ripened 6 to 10 days earlier than usual, with harvesting commencing shortly after the Mid-Autumn Festival. By the 20th day of August, the autumn harvest was in full swing, filling the fields with activity and the jubilation of abundance. As they carried loads of golden rice home, families made extra trips compared to previous years. Though the work was heavy and tiring, their hearts brimmed with joy. Gratitude to Lord Xiao abounded in every farming family, with prayers offered to Buddha for his kindness. With a production increase of 30% to nearly 40%, worries about next year's harvest vanished. Lord Xiao was their benefactor, ensuring they would eat their fill even in lean times. In early September, the Fan family's rice fields also saw harvesting. Meanwhile, government-provided rice, already harvested and sun-dried, filled the granaries. This year's farming hiatus arrived unusually early. With Qiao Xian's approval, Songshe began hiring workers to continue exploration efforts. Of the 50,000 mu of mountains, only 5,000 to 6,000 mu had been previously opened. This year, efforts intensified to reclaim the remainder before the new year, aiming to plant everything needed. Seedlings were already under cultivation for the next year, with additional nursery resources secured for Sichuan pepper, star anise, pepper, cinnamon and more. Madame's plans expanded beyond the existing 50,000 mu. Intent on acquiring another 100,000 to 200,000 mu, she envisioned a diverse landscape of tea plantations, medicinal herbs, bamboo forests, orchards and poultry farms. Development plans included swamps, ponds for fish farming, and reclamation of fertile land. Only Songshe was privy to these plans, and his excitement was palpable. It presented a golden opportunity for him to showcase his skills, further solidifying his worthiness as the chief steward. Qiao Xian believed this location's proximity to Yuzhong meant its resources were more abundant, making it an ideal site for development and mitigating negative karma. With the road between Yuzhong and Yuzhong slated for repair within 2 years, transportation would vastly improve, reducing travel time from 2.5 days to a mere 2 days. Such progress was commendable. Even if they eventually returned to their hometown, managing businesses here would be effortlessly manageable. Come the end of September, Xiao Yunduan issued a notice for tax collection. Each contributor urged to exercise fiscal prudence. The commoners responded with enthusiasm, swiftly submitting their dues as the document made its rounds. Xiao Yunduan divided Zheng Sang, Sun Bai, Sun Qian and Yi into 2 teams, each tasked with transporting the grains collected from towns to Anne's province and depositing them into the intermediate granaries in the city, accompanied by additional manpower. With this year's harvest surpassing expectations, the existing granary proved insufficient. Xiao Yunduan dispatched 2 additional scribes to oversee the construction of a new granary. All granaries were situated in the east of the city, prompting Xiao Yunduan to reprove a piece of land in the west for separate storage, deemed safer. As construction commenced on the new granary, Old Lady Fan and her daughter took to mocking the endeavor. During autumn harvest, mountain bandits from the Min family tribe, Tiger Head tribe, and Liuhe Fort traditionally descended to request food. Historically, the 3 prominent families led in supplying provisions, each contributing a set amount for the bandits' transport. An unspoken understanding prevailed among the families, ensuring smooth cooperation without explicit agreement. Chapter 1823. Rules changed in the past. This situation stemmed partly from the government's struggle to collect taxes effectively. Each family's tacit acknowledgement of the mountain bandits' authority served as a means to maintain regional security, indirectly benefiting both the populace and the government. Consequently, tax payments dwindled. However, this laissez-faire attitude among the families led to officials having minimal influence. The lack of accountability allowed the families to become increasingly audacious, while officials begrudgingly acquiesced, unable to assert their authority. Prefect lords sought to distance themselves from this predicament, showing little concern for the issue. Consequently, year after year, the situation grew more peculiar. When Xiao Yunduan jokingly disclosed this to Qiao Xian, she found the situation incredulous, remarking, "Truly, the world is full of wonders." With Xiao Yunduan's arrival, the status quo demanded change. Aside from sharing the matter with his wife in jest, he cautioned her against venturing out. As Zheng Sang and their cohorts began escorting public grain, the 3 families, along with other influential households in Anne's province, approached Deputy Prefect Guan to address the issue. Though everyone was well aware of the situation, they sought to navigate through bureaucratic red tape. Deputy Prefect Guan, keen to stir trouble for Xiao Yunduan, approached him with candor. "Euro, my lord, please don't be vexed. This is the state of affairs in Anne's province. We're constrained by circumstances. If there were alternative solutions, none would resort to such measures. However, this matter cannot be openly discussed." Euro Xiao Yunduan, composed, responded, "The past is irrelevant to me. Henceforth heed my directives. Trust that I have devised a plan." "You are astute," Deputy Prefect Guan replied, his smile unyielding. He continued with flattery, "I'm curious about your plan. Why not share it with me? After all, I've been entrenched here for many years. I don't mean to boast, but I possess a deeper understanding of the situation than you." Euro Xiao Yunduan smirked inwardly. Understanding the situation was futile. The issue in Anne's province was hardly clandestine. Despite his thorough investigation, he had gleaned all necessary insights over time. He doubted Deputy Prefect Guan's superiority in knowledge. Moreover, even if he lacked comprehension, it was inconsequential. Action spoke louder than comprehension. "I have devised a strategy," Xiao Yunduan reiterated. "I will oversee this matter personally. Deputy Prefect Guan, rest assured. Taxes from across the realm will soon fill the coffers, and you will oversee Anne's prefecture city and its surrounding towns. Ensure timely delivery of all collected rice to the warehouse. But, my lord, if the banditry issue persists, Euro, the suburbs' 3 towns will remain unaffected. Are those cowards bold enough to assail the city? I think not." Xiao Yunduan spoke truthfully. Bandits targeted passing supply caravans, not urban settlements or their environs. Their resources were finite, limiting their capacity to strike beyond. Should the authorities retaliate, the bandits would abandon their plunder and flee. Chapter 1824. Arrogant Lord Xiao. They were not stupid enough to do something that would obviously not benefit them. However, these words made him feel a little uncomfortable. Coupled with Xiao Yunduan's arrogant tone, it made him feel even more displeased and disgusted. For some reason, Deputy Prefect Guan held back his anger. "Yes, since you are confident, I won't say anything else. I believe that Lord has his own make haste with the tax collection, particularly from the Fan family. Clear?" Understood, my lord. Deputy Prefect Guan sneered inwardly. He doubted Xiao Yunduan's grasp of the situation. Did he truly believe he had subdued the mountain bandits with his surprise attack on the Tiger Head tribe? Underestimating the adversary had led to his initial Victoria. If he insisted on being obstinate, so be it. He would learn the gravity of the situation when adversity struck. Then he would inevitably come Pliadingi Zhengseng, Sunbai, and their cohorts were well prepared. The delivery of the initial batches of provisions proceeded seamlessly. Observing this, Xiao Yunduan appeared smug and arrogant. He publicly posted notices, admonishing the Min family tribe, Liuhe Fort, and Tiger Head tribe bandits to surrender promptly. He granted them a 1-month ultimatum. Should they surpass the deadline, he warned of dire consequences. He vowed to purge their mountain strongholds and restore peace to An's province in service to the imperial court. The populace was left dumbfounded. Most regarded Lord Xiao with skepticism. They questioned. Has Lord Xiao lost his senses? Was it possible that Lord Xiao's self-satisfaction had driven him to madness? Did he truly believe that his control over these obedient commoners of Great Qin equated to the audacity to provoke bandits who reveled in bloodshed and treated lives as mere blades of grass? Those who were so brash often met grim fates. Aside from mocking and pitying Lord Xiao's naivety, everyone felt as though they were caught in a surreal reverie. It was unprecedented. None of the previous prefect lords had dared to openly provoke the bandits. They were resigned to their grievances, unable to even stand tall. It seemed like a fantasy to all witnessing this turn of events. Old Lady Fan and Fan Ruyan nearly burst into laughter. Fan Ruyan sneered. This is rich. Lord Xiao might not last long in An's province. Old Lady Fan nodded in agreement. Perhaps had be scared witless by the mountain kings. Or worse, something dreadful might befall him. Naturally he wouldn't linger. Fan Ruyan seethed. I won't let those Hove use their power to shame our family off the hook. When the time comes, let's see whose influence they'll cling to, especially that scribe Jiao back then. She hadn't realized just how vexing this individual could be. Old Lady Fan sneered, her tone dripping with disdain. Such a person doesn't leave himself any room to maneuver. There's no need to dignify him with attention. Just wait and watch. Fan Ruyan chuckled in agreement. Mother is absolutely right. Confident that Xiao Yunduan's departure was imminent, Old Lady Fan began strategizing anew. Thus, when Deputy Prefect Guan arrived to press the Fan family for taxes, Old Lady Fan resorted to her usual excuses. Traditionally, the Fan family settled their dues in cash, a practice that streamlined affairs in the province, benefiting all parties. This year's tax bill amounted to 7,000 taels of silver. Lord Xiao graciously waived the sum, considering it negligible. Chapter 1825. Bargaining. The Fan family brushed off such a trivial sum with indifference. Even its removal wouldn't assuage their ire or sense of injustice. In the past, their tax obligation amounted to a mere 400 taels of silver. Now it had ballooned more than tenfold. Old Lady Fan sought to string Deputy Prefect Guan along until the irksome Lord Xiao vacated An's province. Naturally, she intended for the tax issue to remain unresolved. But with Lord Xiao provoking the mountain bandits, how long would he remain? Deputy Prefect Guan. Old Lady Fan's reasoning struck a chord with Deputy Prefect Guan. He was so bemused by the situation that he almost burst out laughing. If Deputy Prefect Guan sought to stall, it ultimately depended on Xiao Yunduan's tolerance. Xiao Yunduan was adamant, pressing Deputy Prefect Guan for a resolution. He demanded a response by the next day. Failing that, he wouldn't hesitate to take matters into his own hands, personally visiting the Fan family in the postnatal realm. Numerous eyes were fixed on the Fan family. If they shirked their tax duty, how could others be expected to comply? Accusations of bullying the weak and kowtowing to the strong would tarnish his reputation as prefect lord. The dignity he painstakingly cultivated would crumble in an instant. To him, this was an unacceptable outcome. Deputy Prefect was taken aback. He understood Xiao Yunduan's steadfastness. Allowing Xiao Yunduan to approach the Fan family was out of the question. A pang of guilt struck him. What if the Fan family was implicated for concealing 40,000 mu of fertile land? With a heavy heart, Deputy Prefect Guan reluctantly acquiesced. The following day, he paid another visit to the Fan family. Old Lady Fan was naturally reluctant. She couldn't help but scorn Deputy Prefect Guan. It was no wonder he remained stuck in the role of Deputy Prefect despite the constant turnover of An's prefecture's leadership. He was utterly ineffectual. Lord Xiao effortlessly manipulated him with mere words. Old Lady Fan insisted that Deputy Prefect Guan see through the delay to its conclusion. Initially disinclined to entertain him, she begrudgingly agreed to remit 500 taels first, with the remainder to follow gradually. Money was tight for the Fan family, making it impossible to gather the sum immediately. Deputy Prefect Guan was incensed. As the esteemed Deputy Prefect, he had debased himself to this extent, only to receive a paltry 500 taels from the old woman. In the past, such an amount would have sufficed. But now Lord Xiao demanded 7,000 taels of silver. How could he justify a mere 500? Was Lord Xiao so easily deceived? Who would believe the Fan family's claim of financial hardship? If they were truly cash-strapped, would they not be embarrassed to offer a mere 7,000 taels? To the average person, such an amount would indeed be substantial, but this was the Fan family we're talking about. Deputy Prefect Guan gritted his teeth, suppressing his frustration. He soldiered on, enduring the grind. Old Lady Fan's irritation towards him was palpable. She snapped that she would offer no more than an additional 200 taels euro, no more. After all, he held a significant position as regional prefect. Was it beyond his capabilities to execute a simple delay? Had his years as deputy prefect amounted to nothing? Deputy Prefect Guan felt suffocated. He had bared his soul, lowered himself to a humiliating extent, all for the sake of securing a meager 200 taels to dismiss the beggar. Aware of Old Lady Fan's stubbornness, he knew she wouldn't yield any further. Defeated, he returned to the government office with a total of 700 taels in hand. He had no choice but to persist with the delay. Chapter 1826. Stunned Deputy Prefect Guan had intended to prolong the situation until day's end, planning to address it the following day. However, upon his arrival at the government office, Qing Yan greeted him with a smile and promptly escorted him to Xiao Yunduan. Before Deputy Prefect Guan could employ his delaying tactics in front of Xiao Yunduan, the latter demanded the return of the funds, rendering any further discussion moot as he swiftly departed for the east courtyard. Anxious to explain himself, Deputy Prefect Guan attempted to enter, but Aya's stern expression halted him in his tracks. Frustrated and indignant, he retreated home, confident that Xiao Yunduan wouldn't dare take action against the Fan family. Little did Deputy Prefect Guan anticipate that Xiao Yunduan would not only summon the two elders of the Fan family to court the next day, but also inquire about their concealment of 40,000 mu of fertile land during a previous investigation. Xiao Yunduan had already dispatched investigators to uncover this deception, waiting for the opportune moment to wield it against the Miuro, a moment that had now arrived. With irrefutable evidence at hand, Xiao Yunduan was poised to expose their deceit. After all, concealing 40,000 mu of fertile land was no small feat, and would not go unnoticed. The two elders of the Fan family were left dumbfounded. When Deputy Prefect Guan was presented with the situation, he found himself in a dire predicament. Xiao Yunduan sneered. Deputy Prefect Guan, do you have anything to say for yourself? To ascertain his accountability, signatures confirming the Fan family's land measurements were required. Deputy Prefect Guan's signature adorned these documents. He had intended to deceive the Fan family, but now others implicated in similar dealings would undoubtedly come under scrutiny. The evidence was damning. Lord Xiao, it was my oversight. Deputy Prefect Guan stammered, momentarily panicked before mustering the courage to admit his error. I was negligent and failed to conduct a thorough investigation. Please forgive me, Lord. He couldn't confess to collusion with the Fan family. He couldn't. Is that so? Xiao Yunduan presented the recheck data alongside Deputy Prefect Guan's signed documents. His tone turned icy. Then you are gravely mistaken. Not only the Fan family, but the Lu family, the Feng family, the Liang family, and the Zhao family are all implicated. Deputy Prefect Guan, it appears you are inept at managing affairs. I am perplexity Euro. How did you attain the position of deputy prefect? Deputy Prefect Guan felt a chill creep into his heart. Shock and anger contorted his expression as he gazed at Xiao Yunduan. He had fallen into Xiao Yunduan's trap. Initially anxious during the investigation, he had awaited Xiao Yunduan's scrutiny, expecting confrontation. Yet Xiao Yunduan had merely glanced over the results without protest, leading Deputy Prefect Guan to breathe a sigh of relief. He had presumed he passed the test and grew increasingly emboldened. He lent assistance to anyone who sought his aid. He assumed Lord Xiao would not have the leisure to return for further investigation. As long as no questions were asked, he believed he would safely navigate the ordeal. However, little did he realize, it was all a meticulously laid trap. An oversight once or twice, or even thrice, might be attributed to carelessness. But to repeat the same mistake with over 10 families? Such negligence couldn't simply be brushed aside. Even if negligence were to be the explanation, it was far from a trivial matter. Deputy Prefect Guan broke out in a cold sweat, rendered speechless by the gravity of his predicament. Your conduct does not befit your position. It's time to relinquish it, declared Xiao Yunduan. My lord. And what of it? Do you have any further defense? Chapter 1827. Unable to withstand it at this juncture, Deputy Prefect Guan threw in the towel, his anger palpable as he sneered. This must be a trap concocted by you, isn't it? You've always harbored disdain for me, and you're intent on preventing me from holding the position of Deputy Prefect. Xiao Yunduan's sneer mirrored Deputy Prefect Guan's. Do you truly believe you're fit for the role of Deputy Prefect? Must I recount every misstep you've taken since I assumed leadership? The Deputy Prefect is meant to be the Prefect's right hand, sharing in the burdens. How much have you truly shared with me? There had been no sharing of burdens, only troubles and obstacles. Deputy Prefect Guan vehemently denied it. Lord, you're twisting the truth. Such absurdity. Humph. Deputy Prefect Guan, must I strip you of all dignity? Your transgressions haven't faded from memory. If I were to conduct a thorough investigation, do you truly believe your misdeeds wouldn't come to light? Deputy Prefect Guan's mind raced, his strength nearly failing him. But he couldn't yield. Xiao Yunduan's gaze turned cold, devoid of its usual gentleness. Surrender the Deputy Prefect's insignia, and pay a fine of 500 taels of silver. You'll be demoted to the rank of scribe henceforth. Consider it a lenient punishment for your years of service to An's province. Otherwise, you'll face consequences far more severe than those warranted by your actions. Are we clear? If you're not convinced, you're free to decline the role of scribe. Deputy Prefect Guan's world seemed to darken. Meeting Xiao Yunduan's steely gaze, he realized he stood no chance against him. Had the Prefect Lord anticipated this very moment? He had underestimated him, blaming him for underestimating his adversary. Trapped once or twice before, he had yet to recover. Now ensnared in Xiao Yunduan's web without warning, he found himself in this dire situation a euro, but it wasn't over yet. Not by a long shot. The bandits of the Min family tribe, Tiger Head tribe, and Liuhe Fort would surely make their move. Did Xiao Yunduan believe he could handle these bandits as easily as the law-abiding citizens of An's province? He would relish watching Xiao Yunduan suffer a crushing defeat a euro and then, head rise again. Thus he refused to leave the state office. A scribia euro fine, a scribe it was. Thank you for your leniency, Lord. I erred first. Am grateful for the opportunity to remain a euro. Deputy Prefect Guan swallowed his pride, yielding to Xiao Yunduan. Xiao Yunduan's expression remained impassive. He uttered no further words, neither reprimanding nor chastising Deputy Prefect Guan. Instead, he simply stated, "It's good that you recognize your fault. You may go." Effective immediately, Jia Hemming will assume the role of Deputy Prefect. Ensure a smooth transition. Furthermore, you must vacate the residence within 3 days. With that, Deputy Prefect Guan bowed and exited, his heart heavy with the weight of his defeat. Deputy Prefect Guan's blood rushed to his head. He was embarrassed, hateful, and angry. He swallowed his anger and replied, "Yes." Lowering his head, he turned around and left. Such blatant abuse of power was simply intolerable. Just bide his time. When those bandits from the Min family tribe and Tiger Head tribe inevitably came knocking, Xiao Yinduan would learn what it meant to be brought low. He swore to exact revenge for today's humiliation in the days to come. After seeing off Deputy Prefect Guan, Xiao Yinduan's attention turned to the two elders of the Fan family. Slowly, he fixed his gaze upon them. The two old masters of the Fan family felt as though needles were pricking their backs, their bodies stiff with apprehension. They stood there, overwhelmed by a sense of dread and confusion. How could they not be afraid? This Lord Xiao was ruthless and unyielding. He had turned against Deputy Prefect Guan without hesitation, stripping him of his position. Could they and the Fan family expect any mercy? Chapter 1828. Unable to leave the state office, the first old master Fan was perspiring profusely under Xiao Yinduan's penetrating gaze, his heart pounding with anxiety. I confess. I'll pay the tax immediately, and for the 40,000 mu of fertile land I overlooked, I'll settle the tax for that too. Please forgive me, Lord, he blurted out. The second old master Fan chimed in hastily. Yes, Lord Xiao, spare me. I won't dare to repeat this mistake. Though they anticipated their mother's inevitable objections and the ensuing chaos, they couldn't afford to be concerned about it now. But would Lord Xiao be appeased without a hefty sum of money? Without it, they wouldn't leave the state office unscathed. What recourse did they have? Despair gnawed at them. To their surprise, Lord Xiao's demeanor wasn't as placid as expected upon their admission and offer of restitution. Instead, he smirked icily, fixing them with a steely gaze. You two are quite obedient. Only now that Deputy Prefect Guan's duplicity is laid bare and he can't deny it, you suddenly find the courage to confess. But what if Deputy Prefect Guan hadn't been exposed? Would you still come forward? Is that what you believe? Do you truly think this matter concludes here? Lord Xiao's voice cut through the tense air, his eyes drilling into them. Do you presume me so easily deceived that I would allow you to maneuver as you please, advancing and retreating at will? Cold sweat broke out on the brows of the two old masters of the Fan family. Initially confident, they now felt a creeping sense of guilt. They wouldn't admit it before being caught, of course. Even after confessing, Lord Xiao showed no signs of leniency. This prefect was indeed formidable. Xiao Yinduan's tone turned even colder. I care not for your reasons, only the outcome. To withhold such information is to scorn the court and disrespect me. If I fail to administer severe punishment, what becomes of the court's dignity? What of my authority? How can I maintain discipline? The taxes are paid, and the fine amounts to 1,000 taels. Are you satisfied? The two old masters of the Fan family trembled. Satisfied? Their hearts clenched with pain. It was a hefty blow. The second old master Fan attempted to negotiate. Lord Deputy Prefect Guan's oversight led to this. He failed to investigate thoroughly. This humble servant was merely negligent, not willfully disobedient. Isn't 1,000 taels too severe a penalty €1? That's correct. This humble servant acknowledges fault. But surely the penalty need not be so severe. 1,000 taels. The mere thought of their mother's reaction sent shivers down their spines. The impending chaos was headache-inducing. Xiao Yinduan brushed off their protestations, his tone icy. There's no room for negotiation. Draft the payment details. We'll send the funds to the Fan family and release you. The two old masters of the Fan family were taken aback. Lord, escort them out. But my lord Euro, if the silver isn't delivered, you want leave. No further discussion. Xiao Yinduan scoffed. Don't think you'll be fooled by any attempts to delay. The two old masters of the Fan family could only exit, crestfallen. The payment details were swiftly penned. The sum of compensation and fine amounted to a staggering 9,100 taels of silver. The brothers exchanged bitter smiles. 9,100 taels of silver. Would mother part with it so easily? The missive was promptly dispatched to the Fan residence. News of Deputy Prefect Guan's demotion and fine, resulting from collusion with the Fan family to exploit land and taxes, rippled through the government office and soon echoed throughout the city. Chapter 1829. Her heart aches for the silver simultaneously. Rumors circulated that Lord Xiao had issued another decree. Any oversights during the municipal investigations were to be reported to the government office for re-registration. A surprise inspection was slated in a few days. and failure to comply would not be taken lightly. At the mention of this, countless households trembled with fear. Overnight, they scrambled to gather the required funds and surreptitiously re-registered at the government office. Coincidentally encountering acquaintances, they exchanged knowing nods, silently acknowledging the shared predicament. It was as though they were merely strolling through the government office, yet everyone was keenly aware of each other's presence. But that was a concern for another time. Meanwhile, the missive from the two old masters of the Fan family landed in the hands of old Lady Fan, igniting her ire. 9,100 taels. 9,100 taels. Lord Xiao must have a penchant for wealth. Those two sons of mine are utterly useless. They're in a panic over such a trifling matter. Fan Ruyan's distress deepened upon hearing the contents of the letter. Her heart ached at the thought of parting with the silver. Mother, we can't surrender the silver so readily. It's a disgrace to our Fan family. How will we ever hold our heads high in An's province? Nearly 10,000 taels of silver was no trifling amount. Old Lady Fan's lip curled in disdain. Indeed, it isn't. She was well versed in the art of negotiation. Given the exorbitant demand, she intended to haggle fiercely. At most, her sons would be confined to the government office for a mere 500 meters. She doubted Lord Prefect would dare to take further action against them. Tomorrow she would dispatch the butler to negotiate. First Madame Fan and second Mrs. Fan grew agitated. They couldn't contain their frustration upon hearing old Lady Fan's plan. She felt no remorse, but they certainly did. What kind of establishment was the state office? To even consider subjecting their sons to imprisonment there. Even if they weren't subjected to hardship, the stigma of being incarcerated in the state office was unbearable. Accustomed to a life of luxury with plush beds and soft pillows, could they possibly sleep and eat well in such a place? Is that any place for people? They lamented. Were they so oblivious to the impact on their reputation in the future? With tearful pleas, they agreed to bring their children, daughters-in-law, and grandchildren to old Lady Fan, hoping to sway her with their collective anguish. No matter what, they had to quickly bring them back. They could not ignore them like this. Fan Ruyan couldn't help but interject. Sister-in-law, second sister-in-law, let's not stir up trouble. Lord Xiao won't dare to make things difficult for us. Even if he keeps them there, they'll surely be treated differently. 9,100 taels of silver is not a trifling sum. Surrendering it so easily would only whet Lord Xiao's appetite. Wouldn't our Fan family lose face? We must negotiate. Why not foot the bill yourselves, sister-in-law and second sister-in-law? Second Mrs. Fan exploded in anger, retorting. What nonsense are you spouting? Why should we pay? Isn't this an issue that concerns us all? Your own blood brother is the one apprehended by the authorities. Your words are utterly disappointing. Fan Ruyan, equally incensed, shot back. The silver belongs to us all. You can't squander it so recklessly. Second sister-in-law, you're too hesitant to part with the silver for second brother's sake. What more is there to say? You. Mother. First Madame Fan intervened, her tone frosty. This silver is meant for taxes and fines. Isn't it a family matter? We can provide the funds, but we can't let them go for naught. Isn't this blatant coercion? Mother, he's your own son. Chapter 1830. Let's go together. If you're unwilling to retrieve them, then so be it. Why don't we all go to the government office and stay together with them? Sister-in-law, I'll have to rely on you to manage the household. Both families harbored resentment towards this woman who married into the family, yet received preferential treatment from the old lady. She seemed more like a true member of the Fan family than they did. Fan Ruyan felt slighted by the implication, but chose to remain silent, attributing it to envy. She offered only a cold smile in response. First Madame Fan said nothing further, leading her family to depart. Second Mrs. Fan swiftly followed suit, declaring, Sister-in-law, we'll accompany you. Let's go together. Very well. How dare you? Old Lady Fan erupted in fury, slamming her hand on the tea table. Are you both plotting rebellion? Second Mrs. Fan defended. Mother, why can't we stand together as a family in times of trouble? It may alleviate some of old master's embarrassment. At the very least, we can share in the burden. First Madame Fan remained silent. though she silently concurred with the sentiment. Old Lady Fan glared at them, her gaze sharp with indignation. She sensed their determination. Furious, Old Lady Fan staggered backward. They were all in open rebellion. But she couldn't possibly allow them to proceed. It would be a complete loss of face for the Fan family. If you're so concerned about losing face, then leave. Old Lady Fan barked furiously. With a scornful sneer, she declared, "I'll go myself. Let's see if that Lord Prefect dares to detain me too." First Madame Fan and second Mrs. Fan exchanged a knowing glance and nodded in agreement. They didn't want to relinquish the silver without a fight, but the humiliation was unbearable. Would Lord Xiao even deign to speak reasonably? Would he negotiate with them? He had already subjected them to such humiliation. It was intolerable. If Old Lady Fan personally intervened, Lord Xiao wouldn't dare risk the responsibility if she fell ill or suffered any discomfort while in the office. He wouldn't dare allow such a scenario to unfold. Old Lady Fan's heart skipped a beat as she considered the proposal. It struck her as a brilliant idea. Of course, she wanted to accompany her two daughters-in-law. If she didn't assert her authority now, when would she? Prepare the carriage. I'll leave immediately. However, she deemed it unnecessary for her daughters-in-law to accompany her. As the matriarch of the Fan family, she needed to retain some semblance of dignity. Unlike them, she couldn't afford to compromise her standing. Before they could act, the housekeeper rushed in. Old Lady Fan, first Madam, second Mrs. Fan, Mrs. Bai, Madame Xiao has arrived. What? Everyone was taken aback. Fan Ruyan sneered. What audacity! What is she doing here? When the prefect's wife paid a visit, none dared to refuse her. Old Lady Fan instructed the juniors to depart, leaving only her two daughters-in-law and Fan Ruyan. She sneered. Very well, let's see what she has to say. Bring her in. The women of the Fan family awaited her arrival with simmering resentment. Qiao Xian ushered Li Xia and Kai Wei into the room, while Yi stood guard outside the door. Typically, male servants weren't permitted in the backyard. But Yi's intimidating glare dared anyone to challenge him. First Madame Fan and second Mrs. Fan rose to greet Qiao Xian, mindful that their husbands were still detained. Fan Ruyan shot a disdainful glance at Qiao Xian, her lips curling into a sneer. Old Lady Fan, asserting her seniority, remained seated, unwilling to welcome her. Chapter 1831. Qiao Xian's visit. In truth, Old Lady Fan's demeanor was frosty. As Qiao Xian took her seat, Old Lady Fan fixed her with a sneer. Madame Xiao, what brings you here to detain my two sons? Qiao Xian maintained a composed smile. Didn't Old Master Fan correspond with us, old lady? He elucidated the situation thoroughly. Our lord has shown leniency by imposing a mere 1,000 taels of silver as punishment. However, anticipating any misconceptions, I've come to clarify matters. She extended a small token. This is a gesture of our lord's goodwill. Fan Ruyan couldn't resist interjecting. Madame Xiao, you're correct. Our family's finances aren't bottomless. Isn't demanding nearly 10,000 taels a bit excessive? I speak plainly, Madame Xiao, please don't take offense. Indeed, Madame Xiao, second Mrs. Fan chimed in. Let's resolve this matter amicably. There's nothing insurmountable, is there? The Fan family is renowned in An's province. Lord Xiao's leniency grants us face, and naturally, the Fan family reciprocates. The implication was clear. In the future, the Fan family would collaborate with Lord Xiao's governance, ready to assist whenever he required their aid. First Madame Fan, wary of Fan Ruyan's potential arrogance, intervened with a smile. Second Mrs. Fan quickly echoed her agreement, eager to avoid conflict. Both women harbored a fear of the old lady and her daughter, especially Fan Ruyan. Her domineering nature had strained her relationship with her husband to the point where he seemed like a distant stranger. She couldn't bear to see others thrive, and her eccentric behavior extended even to her own family. Old Lady Fan huffed in disapproval, shooting a cold glance at her daughters-in-law, but refrained from speaking. In public, she understood the importance of saving face. However, Qiao Xian remained unmoved. She wasn't there to negotiate but to deliver a warning. Mrs. Fan, you seem to have misunderstood. Qiao Xian maintained her calm demeanor. I believe there's little to discuss, correct? My lord has already displayed clemency. Old Lady Fan seethed with anger. Detaining her isn't letting her off. Xiao Xian met her gaze squarely. Isn't it? The Fan family concealed the truth, and according to the law, you should face fines exceeding 2,000 taels. Yet our Lord only demands 1,000 taels. Isn't that an act of mercy? But even if we're required to pay, shouldn't he release our people from the government office? Old Lady Fan countered. We cannot release them without the full payment, as dictated by the laws of Great Qin. Xiao Xian calmly stated, her smile unwavering. First, Madam Fan, if you doubt my words, feel free to verify them. We've only detained 2 old masters today. If the Fan family is truly reluctant to pay, our Lord deems it reasonable. However, we must thoroughly investigate this matter. Anyone involved must report to the government office for questioning. Farm stewards, mansion housekeepers, old Master Fan's trusted aides, Madam Fan's household staff, and so forth. No one will be exempt. I believe a thorough inquiry will shed light on this matter. The members of the Fan family were all speechless. Chapter 1832. A bright threat. She was poised to upheave the entire Fan clan. Old Lady Fan nearly erupted with fury. Rising to her feet, she sneered. If that's the case, why don't you start with me, Madam Xiao? Why don't you take me back to court? No need for that. Xiao Xian replied with a gracious wave of her hand. You're too elderly for such proceedings. You can attend to your children. However, Mrs. Bai must accompany us. Why should I? Fan Ruyan erupted in anger. I fail to see how this is my concern. Xiao Xian was taken aback. Aren't you a member of the Fan family? Fan Ruyan flushed with embarrassment. Of course I am. Madam Xiao, don't sow discord. But why should I be involved in this? Exactly. Xiao Xian maintained her smile. Since the Fan family disputes this matter, our Lord must conduct a thorough interrogation, with all family members present to cooperate. You're no exception. Indeed. Old Lady Fan, you needn't trouble yourself. After all, you're elderly, and our Lord is compassionate. Fan Ruyan seethed with speechless anger. First Madam Fan and second Mrs. Fan exchanged a glance, finding solace in Madam Xiao's words, for some inexplicable reason. Old Lady Fan, capitalizing on her seniority, sneered defiantly. As the head of the Fan family, it's only fitting for me to attend the government office. That won't be necessary, Xiao Xian replied calmly, showing no haste. Old Lady Fan, all you need to do is pay the sum. Insisting on attending could lead to complications. What if you encounter discomfort or illness? It would create unnecessary trouble. Then, if first Old Master Fan and second Old Master Fan were deemed unfilial, you'd have to escalate such a trivial matter to court. Our Great Qin does not tolerate unfilial behavior. Our Lord will ensure they are duly punished. Xiao Xian asserted firmly. Old Lady Fan, already formidable in her own right, was momentarily taken aback by Xiao Xian's audacity. Fan Ruyan's eyes widened in disbelief. Had her understanding of the world been so limited? Could truth be distorted to such an extent? However, Xiao Xian remained composed, unfazed by their reactions. In essence, once the payment was made, all would be resolved. Otherwise, the Fan family would soon discover whether they could afford the consequences. Lord Xiao was resolute and would not relent. Both she and Xiao Yunduan had anticipated Old Lady Fan's obstinance, recognizing the possibility that she might exploit her seniority to evade consequences. If she were to claim discomfort or illness at court, Xiao Yunduan's hands would be tied. Hence, preventing her departure from the Fan family was their only recourse. As an elderly woman, she was shielded from interference by the deputy prefect, scribes, or constables. No one would dare lay a hand on her. Except for Xiao Xian. Xiao Xian, being the prefect's wife, held a unique position. Old Lady Fan was restrained in her presence. As women, Xiao Xian had the audacity to take action where others could not. If Xiao Xian could simply elucidate the situation, Old Lady Fan would realize she had no recourse. Feeling utterly despondent, Old Lady Fan was on the verge of exploding. She had never encountered such blatant intimidation before. Lord Xiao's obstinacy was exasperating, and his wife proved to be equally troublesome. Her daughter's warnings seemed all too prescient now. Despite her hardened exterior, Old Lady Fan couldn't help but feel a pang of sympathy for her son. Unaware of Qiao Xian's jest, she fixated on her with a venomous glare. Then waive the 1,000 tael fine. Well, make amends. It's not that we refused to pay, but your officials were negligent. You can't hold us accountable. Chapter 1833. It's all his if we don't remind Themi Euro. Why bother reminding them? We're not the ones who made the mistake. Qiao Xian couldn't help but notice the striking similarity in their excuses, almost as if they were mother and son. Deputy Prefect Guan, or rather, Scribe Guan now, was just a disposable tool in their hands, discarded once they were done with him. The blame, however, seemed to fall solely on his shoulders. She pondered what his reaction would be if he ever realized the truth. Cooperating with the investigation is the right thing to do. If you can't comply, then accept the consequences. What more is there to discuss? Whether Deputy Prefect Guan is at fault or not, he will face the consequences. These are separate matters. Are you pretending not to understand? Deputy Prefect Guan is no longer in office. He merely levied a fine of 1,000 taels of silver against you, Old Lady Fan. That's quite generous considering. Exemption from fines? Preposterous. Qiao Xian stood firm, refusing to budge, and she made it clear that Old Lady Fan wouldn't be allowed to leave either. If cooperation was denied, the entire Fan family would be summoned for further inquiry. Until the investigation reached its conclusion, no one would be permitted to leave. Whether the Fan clan descended into chaos due to this was entirely their concern. As for Qiao Xian, she would accompany Old Lady Fan and ensure she didn't cause any trouble at the court. Old Lady Fan seethed with anger, her vision darkening with rage. The fire in her heart refused to die down. Qiao Xian had made one thing abundantly clear: settling the debt, and paying up would be the only way for the Fan family to salvage some dignity. Old Lady Fan instructed the housekeeper to fetch the banknotes from the accounts with a bitter smile. Lord Xiao, Madam Xiao, you've proven your prowess. We concede. Take this money and release my sons. She couldn't resist remarking. Anne's province has its own way of doing things. If Lord Xiao insists on applying rules from elsewhere to ensnare us here, he might find himself coming up short. Given Lord Xiao's commitment to the people, I wonder when he plans to tackle the bandit issue up in the mountains? Ignoring such a significant threat doesn't seem quite right. Qiao Xian beamed proudly, blurting out, "Those bandits are no match. They're just lurking in the wilderness, and our Lord will surely deal with them. We've only recently posted the recruitment notice. Let's give them a chance to surrender." Heh. Old Lady Fan couldn't help but scoff. Is that so? Lord Xiao is quite the hero. Our Lord is both intelligent and courageous. Humph. Qiao Xian declined the banknotes, instead instructing the Fan family's housekeeper to take them to the prefectural office and bring back the 2 elder Fan masters. I've come here today to remind you and the ladies to clarify this matter to them. It wasn't right for me to accept the money. We must distinguish between personal and public affairs. Old Lady Fan and the others were left speechless. After all that had been said, now she was talking about distinctions between public and private matters. Desperate for Qiao Xian to leave, Old Lady Fan instructed the housekeeper to proceed to the court. As soon as the housekeeper departed, Qiao Xian rose with a smile and took her leave. Upon returning to the government office, Xiao Yinduan had already retired to his chambers. He greeted her with a smile, remarking, "If you hadn't returned, I was planning to fetch you from the Fan family myself." Old Lady Fan was truly obstinate. His wife had only just returned after some time. Chapter 1834. Moving out, Qiao Xian retorted sharply, "I am the prefect's wife, and the Fan family poses no threat to me." With the Fan family's affairs settled, Xiao Yinduan instructed his men to monitor Deputy Prefect Guan, and urged him to vacate the premises. The western courtyard was thrown into disarray. Mrs. Guan's cries and shouts echoed, her piercing voice reaching even the eastern courtyard. Yet, she dared not confront Qiao Xian there, whether out of fear or caution, perhaps warned by Deputy Prefect Guan. Ignoring the occasional curses hurled her way, Qiao Xian remained steadfast as long as she didn't give chase. Given Deputy Prefect Guan's dismissal, it was only natural for him to relocate from the government office's premises. There was no other choice. In the western courtyard, Mrs. Guan was devastated. Despite her prolonged tears, she couldn't find solace. It felt surreal, as if she had been cast into a nightmare. Was she no longer the deputy prefect's wife? Had her husband been reduced to a mere scribe? Setting aside the substantial disparity in income between the deputy prefect's annual salary of 200 taels of silver and a scribe's meager less than 30 taels, her social status had plummeted. How would she ever face society again? Initially refusing to budge, Mrs. Guan had regarded this place as her sanctuary, having resided here for so many years. However, the bailiff's ultimatum to vacate within 3 days or face expulsion by Lord Xiao left her seething with anger and resentment, prompting her to reluctantly order the packing of her belongings. Simultaneously, she dispatched people to organize the house. In addition to their current residence in Anne's province, they possessed another courtyard. It was neither grandiose nor modest, but sufficient for their family's needs. Yet they seethed with indignation. €1, even if you haven't contributed lately. Your past efforts speak volumes, old master. You've dedicated so much to Anne's province. How can Lord Xiao dismiss you so callously? It seems he's reluctant to admit his failure to shake Anne's province to its core and incite widespread panic. You've served as deputy prefect for a decade. What transgression warranted your expulsion? As Mrs. Guan continued, her despondency deepened. She exclaimed furiously, I refuse to leave. I won't budge an inch. Let's see if they have the gall to forcibly eject us. If they dare lay a hand on my possessions, I'll challenge their authority. Is there no law for princes, kings, or rulers? Initially, Mrs. Guan had hoped to remain in the eastern courtyard, but now even the western courtyard was off limits. How could she not be furious? Deputy Prefect Guan glanced at her, his smile tinged with coldness, as he recounted the ordeal with the Fan family. You're well aware of old lady Fan's character, aren't you? She won't yield an inch to the Xiao couple. Do you honestly believe we stand a chance? Mrs. Guan was left speechless. Don't let anger consume you. Deputy Prefect Guan sighed wearily, rubbing his tired forehead. His cold eyes betrayed no emotion. Just observe. This is merely a setback. We may yet find an opportunity to turn the tide. Mrs. Guan sneered, her teeth clenched. Fine, I'll heed old master's advice. Anne's province operates by its own rules. Let's see how it all unfolds in the end. Less than 3 days later, on the second day, Deputy Prefect Guan's family vacated their residence. Mrs. Guan's disdain for Xiao Yunduan was palpable. She stripped the house bare of anything movable, leaving not a single curtain behind. She even instructed the servants to uproot numerous flowers and trees from the garden, claiming she had planted them herself. Since she was leaving, she insisted on taking them along. The once lush garden was now a chaotic scene of upturned soil, broken branches, and scattered leaves, a testament to Mrs. Guan's spiteful departure. Chapter 1835. The opportunity has finally come. Xiao Xian remained silent, fully aware that she lacked the capability to overhaul the entire garden. But in truth, it hardly mattered. Her intention was to revamp the garden entirely. She envisioned adding more strawberry patches in one corner, alongside dragon fruit, lychee, longan, cherry, passion fruit, lemon, and various other fruit trees. Her plan was to plant at least 2 of each, ensuring an abundance of fresh fruits. As Deputy Prefect Guan's family departed, the family of Jia Hemming promptly moved in. Both Mrs. Jia and Mrs. Guan harbored dreams they never thought would materialize. Residing in the government office's backyard. On the day of their arrival, Mrs. Jia paid a visit to Xiao Xian at the eastern courtyard. Her demeanor exuded humility without veering into flattery, making everyone feel at ease. Xiao Xian found this unexpected. Mrs. Jia, wife of Jia Hemming, proved to be a woman of virtue, far surpassing Mrs. Guan. Jia Hemming himself was elated. He had longed to demonstrate his abilities and achieve something noteworthy. Yet, each prefect lord had treated this land as temporary, fixating on departing as swiftly as possible. Naturally, none cared about leaving a lasting impact. As time wore on, Jia Hemming grew increasingly disheartened. Though he managed to eke out a living, he remained somewhat out of sync with the others, thus earning the disdain of Deputy Prefect Guan. However, there was nothing particularly remarkable about him. Deputy Prefect Guan saw some utility in having such an individual around, so he harbored no intention of ousting him. For Jia Heming, leaving the government office voluntarily was out of the question. What prospects awaited a cultivated talent like himself elsewhere? His position at the state office, though sometimes idle, was still preferable to most other professions. Seeking a similar post elsewhere after departing An's province would be nothing short of wishful thinking. Yet deep down he still yearned to forge a career. And finally, an opportunity presented itself. Replacing Deputy Prefect Guan didn't trouble Jia Heming in the least. Lord Xiao had already displayed remarkable leniency by retaining someone with Deputy Prefect Guan's dubious intentions within the government office. Any other ruler would have likely thrown him behind bars. This significant reshuffling within the state office served as a sobering reminder for the families across An's province. They grew more circumspect in their words and actions, realizing they could ill afford to underestimate the current prefect lord. If Deputy Prefect Guan, a figure entrenched in An's province for a decade, could be dealt with so swiftly, then others stood even less of a chance. There were whispers circulating among the populace, mocking the prefect lord for his perceived complacency and obstinacy. If he could dismiss someone like Deputy Prefect Guan, who could he rely on? Jia Heming? Who was Jia Heming anyway? His name was virtually unheard of. Without Deputy Prefect Guan's support, the future of An's province seemed uncertain. Leaders from the Min family tribe, Liuhe Fort, and Tiger Head tribe convened at the Min family tribe to address the recent grain thefts. In years past, the issue of food distribution hadn't been such a hassle. The government of An's prefecture and the affluent families maintained an unspoken agreement. These families would manage the distribution of food themselves, collecting and transporting it from designated locations with assistance from villagers. Of course, this food was provided by the city. But this year, not only did the prefect lord refuse to allow the city's wealthy families to continue supplying food, he also issued a ludicrous recruitment notice. What a farce! It was maddening. The trio managed to obtain a copy of the notice from a villager and read it aloud. It was both amusing and infuriating. Chapter 1836. Recruitment certificate. The bandits couldn't resist ridiculing the prefect lord, deriding him as a mere bucor mayuro, pedantic, absurd, and ignorant. They wondered if he had only ascended to his position this year. While they roamed the mountains, the prefect lord was likely burning the midnight oil, buried in his books. To think he had the audacity to issue such proclamations to the mayuro, it must have been a strain for him to fill a piece of paper with such nonsense. They yearned to descend the mountain immediately and teach that reckless prefect lord a lesson, to show him the boundaries of his speech. What a load of rubbish, this so-called recruitment. They felt insulted by such words. If they didn't know that the prefect lord had a handful of constables and subordinates skilled in martial arts, if they weren't aware of their grasp of the imperial court's constraints, they wouldn't have hesitated to raid An's province, let alone venture into the government office to stir up trouble. As they gathered, they couldn't resist mocking and jesting at the purported documents. Lord Xiao must have lost his mind. These scholarly types are all the same euro lost in their books. He's quite confident. Let's see how that turns out for him. This time we're not just after food. We're going to give him a lesson he won't forget, so he learns not to overstep. €1 in the end, the bandits reached a unanimous decision. €1. They would join forces in this endeavor. Failure was not an option. They were determined to deliver a resounding blow to that pedantic prefect lord with their actions. As luck would have it, they had learned that the next shipment of grain would be making its way back to An's province city from Liangshan town in 3 days' time. Liangshan town, situated to the north of An's province, lay 100 miles away from the city. En route, they would pass through a vast rock canyon spanning over 10 miles. The canyon, deep and lengthy, boasted towering cliffs on either side and treacherous peaks. Remarkably, this colossal rock formation was situated not far from Liuhe Fort. It seemed like the perfect gathering point for their plans. The second in command of the Tiger Head tribe spoke with icy resolve. They'll lead the charge. Those constables are going to meet their end. After half a year of recuperation, his injuries had finally healed. But this matter had left him deeply humiliated. It felt like a stain on his honor, a wound that refused to heal. He couldn't bear the thought of facing his comrades with his head held low. Revenge was now imperative. Only by avenging his past humiliation could he regain his dignity. Moreover, he harbored a deep-seated hatred for the prefect lord. Despite his outward appearance of recovery, he knew his Buddhist foundation remained compromised. His strength and agility were but shadows of their former selves. If it came to a fight, his endurance would pale in comparison to what it once was. The momentary lapse in judgment had led to grave consequences. How could he not feel enraged? The fourth in command of the Min family tribe chuckled softly. I have no objections to you leading the charge, but let's not rush to execute the leaders. I prefer to capture them alive, bring them back to our mountain stronghold, and let you unleash your fury upon them. Second in command Chow looked at him disapprovingly. The fourth in command of the Min family tribe grinned. Our fourth brother has taken a liking to that horse, and wishes to pressure Lord Xiao into exchanging it for another. Second brother Chow, I do appreciate your assistance in this matter. In the Min family tribe, the first and third heads bore the surname Min, while the second in command and fourth in command adopted the surname Min as well, making all four leaders Min family heads. Second in command Chow frowned reluctantly. Exchange hostages? I can't guarantee their survival. Chapter 1837. Discussing the tribulation of food. Second in command Min remained nonchalant. As long as Lord Xiao believes they're still breathing, and is willing to trade that horse, it matters little to me. Understanding his implication, the group exchanged knowing glances and chuckled. Even second in command Chow joined in, his laughter laced with a fierce edge. Fine, we'll nab him alive. Once he's in my grasp, hell rue the day he set foot in this world. As bandits, reneging on promises to authorities was par for the course. So what if they didn't release him after securing the horse? If Lord Xiao had the gall, he could come to the mountain and contest with them. Fourth in command Min chuckled, laying claim to the horse. That steed is a gem. I saw it first. None of you better lay a finger on it when the time comes. Second in command Chow snorted. I only seek retribution. Though the others were tempted, fourth in command Min's declaration left them with little choice but to acquiesce with smiles. As the bandits plotted their grain heist, Xiao Yinduan, Zheng Sang, Sun Bai, Sun Qian, Wu Guan, and the Wei brothers, sent by Meng Wanfu, convened to discuss the topography of An's province. Zheng Sang and the others, seasoned in military strategy, could easily anticipate the tactics of these unconventional mountain bandits. Lord Xiao's arrogant attitude, epitomized by his measly offering of 1/1000th of a tael, seemed to belittle the bandits as mere weaklings. Such hubris would undoubtedly stoke their fury. These bandits were untamed and boastful, accustomed to referring to themselves as princes, kings, and monarchs. How could they tolerate such insolence? How could they resist the urge to teach Lord Xiao a humiliating lesson? Moreover, with the upcoming shipment of food passing through the treacherous rock canyon en route from Liangshan town, the bandits saw an irresistible opportunity for plunder. Despite the inevitable heightened vigilance from the government, they remained undeterred. Their lack of knowledge about the government's true strength, coupled with their belief that any previous defeats were due to underestimating the enemy, fueled their confidence. This time they meticulously planned every detail. How could the government hope to stand against them? Xiao Yunduan cast a grave glance at his companions, speaking in a hushed tone. The mountain bandits may underestimate our strength, but we mustn't underestimate theirs. We must be thoroughly prepared this time. Remember, stay vigilant and never let your guard down. There's no room for mercy this time. Shoot on sight and capture the bandit leader alive if possible. Yes, Lord. With Jia Heming as deputy prefect, Xiao Yinduan felt a weight lifted from his shoulders. At least now he didn't have to be as vigilant when organizing dispatches. Deputy Prefect Guan, or rather Scribe Guan, was so enraged that he feigned illness and avoided attending court. He remained holed up at home recuperating. Xiao Yinduan couldn't have asked for a better outcome and eagerly awaited his recovery. A few days after Scribe Guan and his family vacated the backyard, the Fan family unexpectedly sent a letter to Qiao Xian, inviting the prefect's wife and the deputy prefect's wife to their mansion to admire chrysanthemums, enjoy wine, and listen to opera. Mrs. Jia found herself in a quandary. She was reluctant to attend such a high-profile event, particularly at the Fan family's residence, which she suspected harbored ulterior motives. Chapter 1838. Fan family's treat. I've never attended such a large family banquet before. Am feeling quite unprepared and uncertain. What if I embarrass myself? Perhaps I should find a polite excuse to decline the invitation. We can discuss it further later. Madam Xiao, what do you think? Xiao Xian offered a reassuring smile. First, Madam Fan extended a personal invitation, so it wouldn't be wise to decline. Don't fret, I'll be by your side. And as the wife of the deputy prefect, even old lady Fan will have to accord you some respect. What's there to fear? The Fan clan might be influential, but it's not a den of tigers. Just stick with me when the time comes. Well, Mrs. Jia couldn't refuse Xiao Xian's kindness. After some thought, she nodded with a smile. All right, I'll trust your guidance, and I hope you'll offer some advice. Don't worry. Although, I should caution you that Scribe Guan's wife might also be in attendance. Just be mentally prepared. Scribe Guan's wife? Initially unfamiliar with the term, Mrs. Jia's anxiety heightened as she pondered. Xiao Xian chuckled. It's no secret that old lady Fan and the lady of the Fan family have never seen eye to eye with me. And Scribe Guan's wife isn't one to be underestimated either. She's not one to take being sidelined lightly. It's only natural for the Fan family to extend an invitation to her. Wasn't it obvious that he was aiming to stir up trouble and enjoy the spectacle? Mrs. Jia glanced anxiously at Xiao Xian. Indeed, Mrs. Guan was not one to be trifled with. Historically, all the scribes' wives had to cater to her whims. Those who failed to flatter her adequately, or were simply not to her liking, were met with disdain and ridicule. Jia Hemming had never found favor with Scribe Guan, and Mrs. Jia had been subjected to Mrs. Guan's mockery. Given Mrs. Guan's volatile nature, encountering her at the Fan family's gathering could easily lead to confrontation. Wouldn't that mean? Xiao Xian grinned. What's there to fear? We won't incite trouble, but we won't allow ourselves to be pushed around either. She's merely a scribe's wife. There's no need to be intimidated. If she crosses a line, give her a piece of your mind. She won't relent unless Scribe Guan intervenes, and I doubt he'd be willing to do that. Though still somewhat apprehensive, Mrs. Jia felt reassured by Xiao Xian's words. After a moment's consideration, she nodded with a smile. You're right. I'll trust your judgment. Xiao Xian's smile widened. Don't fret. If she oversteps, I won't hesitate to address it. Xiao Yunduan had been instrumental in promoting Deputy Prefect Jia, and during a conversation with Xiao Xian in the office, he expressed great satisfaction with Jia's performance. He was even pleasantly surprised by Jia's adept handling of various administrative tasks, marveling at his efficiency and organization. Since assuming the role of Deputy Prefect, Jia's capabilities had grown exponentially compared to his time as a scribe. Xiao Yunduan couldn't help but feel fortunate. He had stumbled upon a valuable asset. It was only natural for Xiao Xian to safeguard Mrs. Jia. They were a team, after all. Mrs. Jia felt completely reassured. With a smile, she rose and took her leave. Chapter 1839. Just what I wanted. Xiao Xian paused, a subtle smile playing on her lips. She then instructed Li Xia and Li Qiu to fetch some attire suitable for the upcoming banquet at the Fan family's residence in a couple of days. Unbeknownst to Mrs. Jia, Xiao Xian regarded the Fan family's invitation merely as an opportunity to advance her own agenda. With Xiao Yunduan having already incurred the wrath of the bandits from the 3 villages, Xiao Xian was eager to provoke the Fan family as well. It could potentially yield favorable results. Both Xiao Yunduan and Xiao Xian harbored suspicions that these affluent families might have clandestine dealings with the bandits. The Mei family and the Hua family appeared to adopt a neutral stance, seemingly aligning themselves with whichever faction emerged victorious. Consequently, Xiao Yunduan deemed them unworthy of serious consideration. Banditry was rampant in An's province, forcing many to engage in covert transactions for survival. This was an accepted reality. However, the deep-seated animosity the old lady of the Fan family harbored towards Xiao Yunduan and Xiao Xian raised doubts about whether she would seek to establish any form of collaboration. Xiao Yunduan's strategy involved eliminating the mountain bandits before consolidating control over An's province's local power structure. This approach would facilitate smoother execution of commands, circumventing the need for incessant clashes with influential family clans. Few things were as daunting as the prospect of dismantling one of the three mighty clans, namely the Fan clan. The Fan family likely never imagined that, in the eyes of the prefect, their reckoning loomed on the horizon. That morning, after spending some time playing with her son and attending to his needs, Xiao Xian entrusted him to the care of the nanny and maids. She then changed into her attire as a guest, tidied her hair, and dispatched a servant to summon Mrs. Jia. Xiao Xian's attire was resplendent. A vibrant satin gown adorned with inch-wide silver trimmings along the sleeves, collar, and lapels. Delicate begonia flowers were intricately embroidered onto the edges, complemented by a pleated white silk skirt. Her hair was styled into an elegant bun, accented by a peach-shaped red jade ornament with rubies, and adorned with diamond-shaped beaded jade hairpins at the temples. With lightly brushed eyebrows, delicately tinted cherry lips, and a complexion akin to smooth jade, her minimal makeup enhanced her clear autumn eyes and radiant smile. Each gesture exuded grace and poise befitting the prefect's wife, commanding respect without appearing domineering. Mrs. Jia, too, was attired for the occasion, donning a silver-blue embroidered gown paired with a golden hairpin, emanating an air of dignified elegance. These matching grape ornaments were a special gift from Xiao Xian to Deputy Prefect Jia upon his recent promotion. Exquisitely crafted and adorned with rubies and sapphires, exuding opulent splendor. This pair of golden hairpins was valued at around 500 taels of silver, a sum far beyond Jia Hemming's means. Upon receiving the gift, the couple was taken aback. Though they couldn't ascertain its exact value, they could discern its extravagance. Mrs. Jia hesitated to accept it, considering its exorbitant worth, and suggested returning it to Xiao Xian. However, Jia Hemming insisted they retain the gift, proposing instead to express their gratitude personally, by sending a gift to the East Courtyard the following day. It was the first time Mrs. Jia had adorned herself with these golden hairpins to receive guests. Despite feeling a bit anxious, Xiao Xian's compliment eased her nerves. "These golden hairpins suit you perfectly, Mrs. Jia. They enhance your appearance beautifully. I have a knack for selecting gifts." "Indeed you do," Mrs. Jia responded with a smile, feeling reassured. Unperturbed by the anticipation of the grand entrance, Xiao Xian remained unfazed. Upon their arrival at the Fan family's residence, they discovered they weren't the last to arrive, though nearly all the guests had assembled. Chapter 1840. Confrontation. Second Mrs. Fan was hosting the guests in the garden pavilion, while First Madame Fan stepped out to welcome Xiao Xian. Fan Ruyan, adorned in resplendent attire, trailed behind them, wearing a smile. First Madame Fan's expression darkened momentarily, but unable to voice her thoughts, she relented. Upon spotting Xiao Xian and Mrs. Jia, First Madame Fan warmly greeted them upon their arrival at the mansion. Though no one else noticed, Mrs. Jia caught several disdainful glances from Fan Ruyan. Feeling irritated, she suppressed her emotions and feigned ignorance. Unbeknownst to her, Fan Ruyan's contempt for her deepened. In Fan Ruyan's eyes, Mrs. Jia appeared undeserving of her position as the deputy prefect's wife, seemingly elevated through sycophancy rather than merit. With a smile, Fan Ruyan remarked, "Madame Xiao and Mrs. Jia seem to share a close bond. The relationship between the deputy prefect's wife and the prefect's wife is truly exceptional." Xiao Xian shot her a glance before nodding with a polite smile. Fan Ruyan grudgingly acquiesced, but before she could question why Mrs. Jia hadn't been as close to Mrs. Guan before, First Madame Fan swiftly intervened. Sensing the impending negativity, First Madame Fan swiftly redirected the conversation with a smile. "Sister, are the pastries in the pastry room prepared? Could you please check for me? I'd greatly appreciate it." Though disgruntled, Fan Ruyan couldn't openly defy her sister-in-law's request. Reluctantly, she complied, casting a disdainful glance at First Madame Fan before departing. What was her sister-in-law insinuating? Madame Xiao and Lord Xiao held no regard for the Fan family. They had brought disgrace upon them, causing considerable financial losses. So why should she restrain herself from making a few cutting remarks? Did the Fan family now grovel at the feet of others? Since when had the Fan family become so feeble and susceptible to bullying? After being slapped, were they to eagerly present their cheeks for another strike? Was her mother's invitation merely a facade to reconcile with her? Did her sister-in-law remain oblivious to this? First, Madame Fan extended polite greetings and ushered Xiao Xian and Mrs. Jia to the pavilion. The assembled guests greeted them warmly, with Xiao Xian reciprocating with a genial smile as she settled beside Mrs. Jia. Many women discreetly appraised Mrs. Jia. While some were familiar with her, most were not. However, today's gathering would acquaint them with her. As the deputy prefect's wife, Mrs. Jia now commanded a different level of respect. Henceforth, any invitation extended to the deputy prefect would naturally include his wife. Inviting the prefect's wife to a banquet was considered an honor. Several guests couldn't help stealing glances at Mrs. Guan. Known for her prickly temperament, her pallid complexion betrayed her inner turmoil. Despite her efforts to maintain composure, her visible tension didn't go unnoticed. Internally, many chuckled, yet a sense of anticipation lingered. It was evident that the Fan family's deliberate inclusion of Mrs. Guan was meant to provoke discord. It appeared the Fan family harbored a deep-seated animosity towards Lord Xiao and Madame Xiaoyuro. Chapter 1841. Meeting on a narrow path, Mrs. Guan braced herself for the challenges she anticipated facing that day. Despite knowing the ordeal that awaited her, she chose to attend nonetheless. Why should she stay away? Her conscience was clear. She had done nothing wrong. If anyone should feel ashamed or avoid confrontation, it was not her. With pursed lips, Mrs. Guan cast a chilling glare at Xiao Xian. Her gaze bore such intensity that it was impossible to ignore. Xiao Xian, however, met her gaze calmly, her expression serene, as though Mrs. Guan were no different from any other guest. Mrs. Guan's chest tightened. One thought echoed in her mind. What audacity! Why did Xiao Xian exude such self-righteousness? Observing this exchange, Mrs. Jia couldn't contain her satisfaction. Finally, Mrs. Guan faced repercussions. Witnessing this was immensely gratifying. The fleeting illusion dissolved as reality set in. Mrs. Guan was no longer the deputy prefect's wife, and her husband had indeed secured a promotion. Fan Rian rolled her eyes and addressed Mrs. Jia with a saccharine smile. Mrs. Jia, what a delightful surprise to have you here. Although we've never met before, today provides us with an opportunity to acquaint ourselves. You should grace us with your presence more often. It would afford us the chance to forge a deeper connection. Much like with Mrs. Guan, we're all quite familiar with each other here. Since you're a regular attendee, I'm sure you're well acquainted with Mrs. Guan, aren't you? Mrs. Guan's disdain was evident in her sneer, cutting through the air with clarity. Throughout the gathering, numerous glances exchanged conveyed subtle messages, laden with meaning or ambiguity. Feeling somewhat uneasy, Mrs. Jia sought solace in Xiao Xian's composed demeanor as she conversed with another guest, seemingly oblivious to the tension. Mustering her resolve, Mrs. Jia nodded in agreement with Fan Rian's compliment. Your kindness is greatly appreciated, Mrs. Bai. In her response, she tacitly endorsed Fan Rian's suggestion, signaling her willingness to engage more actively in social gatherings in the future. However, as Mrs. Guan contemplated Mrs. Jia's prospective interactions with the other ladies, attending lavish events, and being accorded the same respect she once enjoyed, a surge of irritation coursed through her. All of this had once been hers. Jia Hemming's efforts to curry favor with Xiao Yunduan, betraying her in the process, had led to her displacement and her husband's downfall. Mrs. Jia, whom she had scarcely acknowledged in the office, now occupied the position she once held. How could she possibly accept this? Rage simmered within Mrs. Guan, manifesting as a slight tremor in her body. She glared at Mrs. Jia with a sharp look. Fan Rian's bright smile adorned her face as she coyly covered her mouth, emitting a girlish giggle. Oh, you're far too kind. Your grace, virtue, and elegance are unmistakable. One glance is all it takes to discern that you're no ordinary woman. It's no wonder you've been blessed with such good fortune. I dare say your luck still lies ahead of us, doesn't it? Ha ha ha. With a genial smile, Fan Rian directed her question to the assembled guests, each of whom felt compelled to respond with smiles and nods of agreement. Mrs. Guan seethed with mounting fury, her grip on her handkerchief tight enough to fray its edges. She recognized Fan Rian's deliberate provocation. Yet her anger wasn't directed towards Fan Rian herself. Instead, she harbored resentment towards Qiao Xian and Mrs. Jia. Observing Mrs. Jia's uneasy demeanor and awkward response, Mrs. Guan's rage intensified. How could she have been replaced by someone like her, who lacked eloquence and social finesse? Chapter 1842. Most reasonable Mrs. Guan refrained from confronting Qiao Xian directly, yet she harbored no apprehension towards Mrs. Jia, whom she had never held in high regard. Nevertheless, she remained steadfast in her refusal to accept the situation. Fixing her gaze on Mrs. Jia, Mrs. Guan's smile turned icy. The story isn't over yet. Whether it's a blessing or not remains to be seen. With a smirk, she continued. But I must say, your attire today is quite the revelation. As the saying goes, fine feathers make fine birds. You appear remarkably presentable today, almost unrecognizable from your former self. A few ladies couldn't stifle their amusement, discreetly covering their mouths to suppress their laughter. Mrs. Guan's thinly veiled mockery of Mrs. Jia's previous modest appearance, contrasted with her current perceived arrogance, did not go unnoticed. Mrs. Jia anticipated Mrs. Guan's taunt, yet found herself at a loss for words. Responding in kind would only reflect poorly on her character, especially considering Mrs. Guan's former position of authority over her. Thus, she treaded carefully, mindful of her former boss' sensitivities and her own gentle disposition. Qiao Xian interjected, directing a pointed glance at Mrs. Guan as she spoke with a placid smile. Mrs. Guan, perhaps you're unaware, but today is a joyous occasion. As the wife of the deputy prefect, Mrs. Jia is naturally in high spirits, which reflects in her appearance. Naturally, she's inclined to dress accordingly, signaling a change from her previous status. Mrs. Jia expressed her gratitude to Qiao Xian with a nod. I often stumble over my words, but you articulate things perfectly. Empowered by Qiao Xian's support, Mrs. Jia felt emboldened to assert herself. Observing Qiao Xian's defense of Mrs. Jia, Mrs. Guan's frustration reached its boiling point. During her tenure as the deputy prefect's wife, Qiao Xian had offered her no assistance. Instead, she seemed to single her out for criticism without cause. Jealousy and irritation consumed Mrs. Guan as she spoke up. Hee, what's there to be so arrogant about? Qiao Xian maintained her composure, her smile unwavering. And what, may I ask, is arrogant about it? Mr. Jia's promotion naturally brings joy and pride to Mrs. Jia as his wife. It's a simple matter of human nature. Who wouldn't celebrate a positive development? Surely, you wouldn't be pleased if faced with a demotion or adversity in your own family. It's only natural to rejoice in good fortune. You, Mrs. Guan seethed, sensing Qiao Xian's veiled insinuation. With a serene smile, Qiao Xian continued, Mrs. Guan, do you disagree with my assessment? Mrs. Guan's anger threatened to overwhelm her. She scoffed derisively. I wouldn't dare. Who would dare challenge the judgment of the prefect's wife? If we incur her displeasure, who knows what repercussions we might face? Qiao Xian remained unperturbed. No, she countered. I'm known for my fairness, as I'm sure everyone here can attest. Only those seeking special treatment, insisting on being treated differently, would perceive me as unreasonable. As for transparency in outcomes, there's no cause for concern. Whether it's our Lord or myself, we prioritize transparency. If anyone feels uncertain about their situation, it's either due to misunderstanding or an unwillingness to acknowledge the truth. If you have any uncertainties, simply inquire, and clarity will be provided. Oh, don't claim you're too afraid to ask. Doing so would be quite uncivilized behavior. Chapter 1843. Sowing discord. Mrs. Guan's composure shattered upon hearing Qiao Xian's words. With a disdainful sneer, she retorted, A hooligan? Madam Xiao, that's a bit too far. Madam Xiao remained firm. It's not excessive at all. Consider this. You claim to be aggrieved, yet when questioned about the cause, you remain silent. How can others respond? Enraged, Mrs. Guan shot accusatory glances at both Qiao Xian and Mrs. Jia. Rising from her seat, she snapped. I see through this charade now. You're aiding Mrs. Jia in tormenting me, aren't you? What's the point of rubbing salt in the wound? Haven't you humiliated us enough? If you'd rather not have me here, I'll leave. I won't be a nuisance. Mrs. Guan, please refrain. Fan Ruyan intervened swiftly, aware of the unsightly spectacle unfolding. She attempted to defuse the tension. Guiding Mrs. Guan back to her seat, Fan Ruyan maintained a placating tone. Mrs. Guan, that's not what Madame Xiao intended. You're letting your imagination run wild. Let's calm down. But it's undeniable that Madame Xiao is tending to Mrs. Jia exceptionally well. It's a side of her we haven't seen before. The implication hung in the air, unspoken yet keenly felt. Mrs. Guan's frustration was palpable, and her reaction was understandable. Nevertheless, voicing this sentiment would only exacerbate matters, potentially reopening old wounds. After all, Mrs. Guan's status had changed since her husband's demotion from deputy prefect. Silent exchanges among the onlookers conveyed their astonishment and discomfort. Mrs. Bai had indeed crossed a line. As the wife of the prefect, her words were unmistakably divisive. How could Madame Xiao confront this situation? In truth, Madame Xiao was more than capable of facing it head-on. Instead of directly addressing the question, she responded with a genuine smile. I didn't have the opportunity to get to know Mrs. Jia previously, so I couldn't extend my care to her even if I had wished to. Mrs. Jia stifled a laugh, chiming in. Indeed, I'm delighted to receive your care now, Madame Xiao. When you first arrived in An's province, we hadn't yet acquainted ourselves. The ensuing silence spoke volumes, punctuated by Mrs. Guan and Fan Ruyan's simmering indignation. What was the insinuation behind her words? Madame Xiao's feigned ignorance was transparent. Just then, first Madame Fan returned, ushering everyone to their seats to enjoy the festivities. Fan Ruyan put on a smile, though her eyes betrayed a frosty demeanor. Mrs. Guan shot dagger-like glances at Mrs. Jia throughout the meal, her resentment palpable. During the seating arrangements, Fan Ruyan placed Mrs. Guan at the table with Qiao Xian and Mrs. Jia. Curiously, Mrs. Guan opted to sit beside Mrs. Jia, prompting a subtle sigh of relief from the latter. Mrs. Guan perceived it all as a cheap ploy, a devious stratagem, cursing inwardly, sycophant, deceitful schemer, utterly shameless. She scoffed internally at the implication. So what if she was once the wife of the deputy prefect? She was nothing more than a lapdog at Madame Xiao's side. As the banquet commenced, Qiao Xian's smirk directed towards Mrs. Guan was accompanied by a pointed remark. Mrs. Guan, perhaps instruct your servants to be cautious when serving, lest Mrs. Jia receive the wrong dish. We wouldn't want rumors circulating about your narrow-mindedness and vengeful intentions, would we? Chapter 1844. Half-joke exposed Mrs. Guan had contemplated such a move, but even if it seemed obvious, she doubted Mrs. Jia would dare to retaliate. However, Qiao Xian's jesting tone gave her pause. Repeating the act would be undeniably shameless. Though Mrs. Guan didn't find dealing with people like Qiao Xian and Mrs. Jia particularly daunting, she preferred not to draw attention in front of the crowd. What do you mean, Madame Xiao? Am not quite following. Mrs. Guan feigned surprise, masking her true intentions with a chuckle. My servants are quite astute. They wouldn't be so careless. Perhaps there's been a misunderstanding, Madame Xiao. Qiao Xian's smile widened. Ah, excellent then. Fan Ruyan couldn't help but envy Mrs. Guan's composure. Madame Xiao's generosity towards Mrs. Jia, the deputy prefect's wife, is truly remarkable. It's a far cry from her treatment of the deputy prefect's previous wife. The mention of her past status as the deputy prefect's wife nearly caused Mrs. Guan to retch. Qiao Xian's nonchalant reply carried a hint of jest. Well, there are many things you're not privy to. Fan Ruyan choked back a retort. She knew all too well. This person was endlessly vexing. Indeed, the Fan clan lived up to its reputation as one of the three great clans. The array of dishes presented was nothing short of breathtaking, eliciting endless praise. However, Mrs. Guan, her anger simmering beneath the surface, found herself unable to savor the delicacies before her. Standing next to Mrs. Guan, Mrs. Jia elicited a feeling of disdain within her. Mrs. Guan perceived Mrs. Jia as lacking in refinement and sophistication, her eyes lighting up with each dish served as though she had never experienced such fare before. It was a disgrace, especially considering the lavish treatment bestowed upon her by Madame Xiao. Mrs. Guan harbored a fleeting desire to spill her soup on Mrs. Jia, Yet Xiao Xian's earlier admonition stayed her hand. After the banquet concluded, the guests gathered in the flower hall to enjoy tea before strolling through the garden to aid digestion and admire the blossoms. While Xiao Xian found himself surrounded by a throng of animated ladies, Mrs. Jia found herself relegated to a secluded corner, conversing with Mrs. Guan. With clenched fists, Mrs. Guan resisted the urge to strike Mrs. Jia. Instead, she offered a chilling smile. Observing Mrs. Jia's fearful and evasive demeanor, Mrs. Guan experienced a conflicting mix of disdain and envy. She despised the fact that someone like Mrs. Jia could dare to tread upon her, figuratively speaking, asserting superiority over her. Envy festered within Mrs. Guan as she pondered Madame Xiao's arrogance and obstinacy. Never once had Madame Xiao deigned to meet her gaze, consistently making her existence arduous and harboring disdain towards her. How could she not feel incensed? With a contemptuous sneer directed at Mrs. Jia, who attempted to evade her verbal assault, Mrs. Guan lashed out. Who would have thought that you'd become so haughty after associating with a prominent family? Humph, your former meekness has given way to smugness. One can indeed never judge a book by its cover. What right have you to act so superior in my presence? You were nothing more than a lapdog to me. How long do you reckon your arrogance will endure? Even our old master, a paragon of virtue, has his limits. I'm curious to see how capable Scribe Jia truly is. Mrs. Jia, unable to stomach Mrs. Guan's shameless tirade, gritted her teeth in frustration. Mrs. Guan, I implore you to mind your manners. There's a line you shouldn't cross. And what if I choose to cross it? Mrs. Guan's anger flared even hotter. Chapter 1845. Madame Xiao's offer. She raised her hand threateningly towards Mrs. Jia, who instinctively recoiled. Amused by Mrs. Jia's reaction, Mrs. Guan chuckled derisively. You're unworthy of being the deputy prefect's wife. What significance do you hold? You're nothing in my eyes. Mrs. Jia retorted, her voice trembling. I may be insignificant, I'm aware of that, but I am still the deputy prefect's wife. You should show me some respect, or else €1. Or else what? Mrs. Guan's fury boiled over as she fixed Mrs. Jia with a steely glare. What can you possibly do? Are you threatening me? Mrs. Guan found the situation ludicrous and demeaning. How dare Mrs. Jia assert dominance in her presence? Drawing courage from Madame Xiao's support, Mrs. Guan remained undeterred. Mrs. Jia's heart raced, her legs feeling like jelly. And my husband is now the deputy prefect. If you continue like this, I will report your behavior to him. Why wouldn't you? I have every confidence in your loyalty. Mrs. Guan sneered contemptuously. I won't forget how your husband climbed the ranks, even if you choose to overlook it. A man who betrays and schemes for his own advancement is nothing but a tool. Do you truly believe Lord Xiao would condone such treachery? He's merely a pawn in Lord Xiao's game. Mark my words, when he's no longer useful, he'll be discarded like trash by those he once served. What else do you expect? What authority does that haughty prefect's wife possess to shield you? Do you truly believe she acts out of benevolence and affection towards you? How naive. Mrs. Jia, unable to stomach such slander, felt her face flush with anger. Cease your baseless accusations. Madame Xiao is not the person you portray her to be. Anyone with eyes can see that since their arrival in An's province, Madame Xiao and Lord Xiao have conducted themselves with transparency and integrity. It's those accustomed to exploiting others who now resent their loss of opportunity. This is not the fault of Lord Xiao and Madame Xiao. They're working to rectify the situation. €1. Furthermore, my husband did not betray or frame old Master Guan. Unless Mrs. Guan can provide evidence, it would be wise to refrain from spreading unfounded rumors. What will you do if an investigation is launched? Mrs. Jia believed she was offering a gentle reminder, but Mrs. Guan interpreted it as a threat. The former meek woman, who once cowered in his presence, now revealed a sharp and resolute side. She dared to insult her. Mrs. Guan felt herself on the verge of losing control. Indeed, power wielded its influence, emboldening individuals to act more assertively. Mrs. Guan couldn't stand the sight of Mrs. Jia's countenance. She yearned to deliver a resounding slap, reducing her to her knees, begging for clemency. Yet she retained a semblance of rationality. While she entertained such thoughts, she knew better than to act upon them. Today's gathering boasted a sizable audience. If she, the wife of a mere scribe, were to strike the deputy prefect's wife, she'd become a laughingstock, perceived as a sore loser. As for Madame Xiao, she possessed leverage, undoubtedly poised to exploit it for maximum effect. Chapter 1846. Why should she compensate? Are you attempting to intimidate me? Mrs. Guan sneered, her tone dripping with disdain. Who do you think you are? How dare you threaten me? You want proof? Fine, I'll provide it. Without hesitation, Mrs. Guan removed the jade bracelet from her wrist before Mrs. Jia's bewildered gaze. Brandishing it before her, she released her grip, allowing the bracelet to plummet to the ground, shattering into 3 pieces. Mrs. Jia's eyes widened in astonishment. You. Mrs. Guan's sneer deepened. You've broken my bracelet euro, a piece valued at 400 taels of silver. Mrs. Jia, are you prepared to compensate me with silver or an equivalent bracelet? The emerald green bracelet emitted a soft, ethereal glow, undoubtedly fetching a hefty sum. Even if its value didn't quite reach 400 taels of silver, it easily exceeded 200 taels euro, an indisputably pricey item. But Mrs. Jia couldn't possibly afford such a sum, whether it be 200 or 400 taels. Moreover, why should she compensate at all? Mrs. Jia and her attendant were dumbfounded by Mrs. Guan's audacity. It's a euro, it's you a euro me? Mrs. Guan scoffed. Do you truly believe I deliberately discarded such a valuable piece of jewelry? Preposterous. It's blatantly obvious. Who would believe such nonsense? Just because you're the wife of the deputy prefect, don't presume you can freely distort the truth and besmirch others' reputations. A euro. As Fan Ruyan and her companions enjoyed the flowers, they overheard the confrontation. Stepping forward with a genial smile, Fan Ruyan interjected. Mrs. Guan and Mrs. Jia, you seem quite engrossed in conversation. What's the topic of discussion? Mrs. Guan sneered, wasting no time in recounting the incident. Mrs. Bai, perhaps you can offer your judgment to euro after presenting her version of events, she demanded. Shouldn't Mrs. Jiao apologize and compensate? This isn't how one should treat others, is it? Mrs. Jia, on the verge of tears, protested. I didn't do it. I didn't lay a hand on her bracelet. How could I have broken it? She must have done it herself. Mrs. Guan's sneer persisted. Fan Ruyan maintained a composed smile. But that contradicts Mrs. Guan's account. Furthermore, why would Mrs. Guan break her own bracelet? It's clearly of considerable value. Mrs. Jia, Deputy Prefect Jia's finances have improved. Affording the compensation shouldn't be an issue for you. Another lady chimed in, smiling. I find it hard to believe that Mrs. Guan would harm herself just to frame Mrs. Jia. Mrs. Jia can't simply deny responsibility to avoid compensation. That's absolutely right, this is blatant bullying. Mrs. Guan felt a surge of satisfaction as she pressured Mrs. Jia into offering an apology. Fan Ruyan maintained her composure as she spoke. Mrs. Jia may now hold the position of deputy prefect's wife, but that doesn't justify unreasonable behavior. You've undergone quite the transformation, Mrs. Guan. I've encountered you once or twice before, and you're markedly different now. Ever since assuming the role of the deputy prefect's wife, you've exhibited a newfound assertiveness. There's nothing you wouldn't dare to do. Even if you dare to act, you must take responsibility for your actions. Mrs. Guan sneered triumphantly. Exactly. You dare to act, yet refuse to accept accountability? I'm well aware of the grudge you've held against me for some time now, and now you've seized upon an opportunity. If it were any other matter, it might be overlooked. However, this bracelet holds sentimental value for me and is quite valuable. Given our family's financial situation, we can ill afford such losses. Even if you attempt to intimidate me, I have no choice but to speak the truth. Chapter 1847. Each opinion. Mrs. Jia seethed with fury. You're twisting the truth. Never had Mrs. Jia imagined she'd face such brazen accusations. Yet, upon reflection, she couldn't deny the logic behind them. She had been painted as despicable and vengeful, unjustly maligned. With Fan Ruyan and the others seemingly aligning against her, Mrs. Jia felt utterly perplexed and cornered. Refusing to concede to false allegations, Mrs. Jia declared, I will never confess to a crime I didn't commit. I wouldn't even deign to approach Mrs. Guan, let alone harm her or her belongings. If you insist it's me, then she lacks evidence. Let's seek resolution from Madame Xiao. Why bother? Mrs. Guan sneered, her jealousy palpable. Isn't it obvious she's biased in your favor? Are you seeking refuge? Ignoring the jibe, Mrs. Jia turned to leave. Mrs. Guan blocked her path, bellowing, "You're not going anywhere until we settle this." Mrs. Jia's tone turned icy. "Even if it means taking this to court, you can't detain me, can you?" To court? It was clear who held sway in the court of law, Lord Xiao. Anger coursed through Mrs. Jia as she trembled with frustration. Dealing with Mrs. Guan proved far more challenging than Mrs. Jia anticipated. Her demeanor bordered on bullying, leaving Mrs. Jia feeling backed into a corner. It seemed that unless Mrs. Jia capitulated to Mrs. Guan's accusations, she'd inevitably be branded as the wrongdoer. It was a crowded affair, and upon hearing the news, Xiao Xian instructed Li Xia to summon both Mrs. Jia and Mrs. Guan. With the prefect's wife intervening, everyone fell in line. Mrs. Guan shot Mrs. Jia a disdainful glance, her sneer dripping with contempt. "Seems you have someone in your corner. Let's see how you try to twist the truth now." Aware of Xiao Xian's staunch support for Mrs. Jia and their ongoing feud, onlookers began to cast speculative glances at Mrs. Jia. Sympathy naturally gravitated towards the underdog. Since Xiao Yanduan's arrival in An's province, his decisive and efficient leadership had compelled these entrenched family clans to relinquish their unwarranted privileges. While they may not have been entirely swayed by the prefect, they certainly had to heed his directives. The same held true for Xiao Xian. Seeing Mrs. Guan embroiled in trouble, pity welled up among the onlookers. Deep down, bias crept in as some silently pinned the blame on Mrs. Jia. After all, it wasn't entirely inconceivable for Mrs. Jia to have broken Mrs. Guan's bracelet euro when they convened before Xiao Xian. Mrs. Guan wasted no time in presenting her side of the story. She asserted that Mrs. Jia had shattered her bracelet during their altercation, yet adamantly denied any culpability. With a mocking tone, she addressed Xiao Xian. "I understand your protective stance towards her, Madame Xiao, but I fear my words may fall on deaf ears. Nonetheless, I must speak my truth." Mrs. Jia seethed with frustration. "Madame Xiao, I didn't even come into contact with her, let alone her bracelet. Mrs. Guan is fabricating this entire ordeal." Sheyuro, not only was Mrs. Guan falsely accusing her, but she was also dragging Xiao Xian into the fray. Unless Xiao Xian chose to compensate Mrs. Guan, Mrs. Jia faced the looming threat of biased judgment. Regret gnawed at Mrs. Jia. She had sensed Mrs. Guan's ill intentions all along. Why had she agreed to meet with her alone? Even if she insisted on going solo, she could have opted out. Mrs. Guan's face contorted with resentment as she sneered incessantly, masking her true feelings of powerlessness beneath a facade of apparent suffering. Chapter 1848. Venting anger in the midst of the tense exchange, Xiao Xian found herself caught in the crossfire of accusations. Maintaining her composure, Xiao Xian intervened calmly. "You both hold differing perspectives. Was there anyone else present to witness the incident?" "No," Mrs. Guan responded bluntly, without a moment's hesitation. "The absence of a third party only reveals her true nature." If there were a witness, they'd surely uphold their dignity, wouldn't they? Mrs. Jia's eyes widened. Was Mrs. Guan indirectly insinuating something about her? It seemed everything was spiraling because of her. "That's a challenging situation," Xiao Xian remarked. "The absence of a third party means lack of evidence, rendering both your accounts inconclusive." Fan Ruyan interjected with a smile. "It seems you might be exhibiting some bias, Madame Xiao." One can't help but understand Mrs. Guan's skepticism. After all, Lord Xiao's reputation as an upright public official is widely known. But are you trying to cover something up? Xiao Xian's smile remained enigmatic. "What are you implying, Mrs. Bai? I wouldn't dare to presume too much in your presence. But it's unlikely that Mrs. Guan would simply discard a jade bracelet worth hundreds of taels of silver. It's more plausible that the altercation resulted from a disagreement, perhaps even an accidental push. Surely you wouldn't exhibit bias towards Mrs. Jia simply because of her status as the deputy prefect's wife, would you?" But we must ensure Mrs. Jia isn't unjustly accused. With differing testimonies and no third-party witness, it's unjust to favor either party. What do you mean by something unreasonable? Aren't unexpected events a part of life? Some may feel wronged and resort to framing others. Do you deny the existence of such individuals? I must also inquire, Mrs. Bai, why such evident bias towards Mrs. Guan? Are you deliberately stirring up trouble? Silence fell upon the gathering. Xiao Xian's unexpected outburst directed at Mrs. Bai left everyone taken aback, implicating her in the conflict. Mrs. Guan smirked inwardly, amused by Xiao Xian's apparent lapse in judgment. How could she involve Mrs. Bai like this? As anticipated, Mrs. Bai bristled with indignation. I merely sought to express a balanced perspective. Why accuse me, Madame Xiao? I find your stance anything but impartial. Without a witness, what basis do you have for your claims? Just because you're Mrs. Bai? Xiao Xian's tone sharpened with each word. Madame Xiao, please refrain from overstepping. Mrs. Bai retorted sharply. What? You're allowed to make snide remarks and unfounded accusations, but I can't speak up? Overstepping. How dare you speak to me, the prefect's wife, in such a manner? Xiao Xian's voice dripped with indignation. Yueyuro, sister. First Madame Fan intervened, sensing the escalating tension. Madame Xiao, this is all a misunderstanding, Yueyuro. There's no room for misunderstanding, I'm all ears, Xiao Xian declared icily. Mrs. Bai, apologize. You want me to apologize? Mrs. Bai's disbelief was palpable, her expression incredulous. Fan Ruyan was flabbergasted. She jabbed her finger accusingly. How dare Xiao Xian publicly ridicule her and demand an apology? Even if she was sowing discord, couldn't she allow others to voice their concerns when faced with injustice? Fan Ruyan practically steamed with indignation. Yueyuro, why? You've shown blatant disrespect towards me. Xiao Xian's sneer dripped with disdain. I've tolerated your behavior for the sake of the Fan family, but your audacity knows no bounds. Do you believe I have no patience? Or perhaps you believe the Fan family wields unchecked authority in An's province? Yueyuro, apologize. Otherwise, don't expect me to show you any courtesy. Chapter 1849, Impudence in Your Dreams. Fan Ruyan's voice reverberated, laced with defiance. How dare you? A collective gasp swept through the room as everyone held their breath, their hearts quivering with tension. It was evident to all present that Fan Ruyan had crossed a line. The altercation was none of her concern. She could have simply observed from the sidelines. Instead, she chose to instigate trouble. Who would sympathize with someone openly defiant? It was only fitting for the prefect's wife to rebuke her. Yet, Fan Ruyan seemed incapable of restraint, escalating the situation further. Was she eager to hand her adversaries ammunition against her? This was an unexpected turn of events. Those anticipating embarrassment for Fan Ruyan found themselves pleasantly surprised. While many were eager spectators of the unfolding drama, their satisfaction outweighing any concern for the parties involved. First Madame Fan harbored no fondness for the prefect's wife, but her disdain for her sister-in-law ran deeper still. Exchanging a knowing glance with second Mrs. Fan, she rose to defuse the tension. Madame Xiao, my sister is known for her forthright nature. She did not intend any disrespect towards you. Please forgive her. Sister, please refrain. Let's not exacerbate the situation with rash behavior. Yes, let's focus on Mrs. Guan and Mrs. Jia's matter. Mrs. Guan's satisfaction was palpable. She relished the prospect of Xiao Xian and the Fan family amplifying the dispute. I am in no rush, nor do I seek retribution against Mrs. Bai. First Madame Fan and second Mrs. Fan seethed with anger, eager to silence Mrs. Guan. Her words played right into Fan Ruyan's hands. Yet Xiao Xian remained unfazed. Mrs. Bai, are you behaving like a child? How dare you speak rudely and spout nonsense before me? Must I endure the Fan family's brashness and allow you to demean me? Fan Ruyan, I am not obliged to tolerate your insolence. Apologize sincerely and refrain from such behavior in the future. That will resolve this matter. Otherwise, Fan Ruyan was on the verge of losing her composure. Her sister-in-law's attempts to intervene fell on deaf ears. Otherwise what? What do you intend to do? This is the Fan family. Do you think you can bully us too? Have first Madam Fan, second Mrs. Fan, did you hear that? The Fan family truly holds sway here. They aren't just forthright. They're domineering. Lixia, teach her a lesson. Understood, madam. Before anyone could react, Li Xiao advanced and delivered a resounding slap to Fan Ruyan's face. The room fell into stunned silence as everyone processed the unexpected turn of events. Pa! Another sharp slap resounded as Li Xiao struck Fan Ruyan's other cheek. Ah! Fan Ruyan's shriek pierced the air as she lunged at Li Xiao, consumed by fury. How dare you strike me? First Madam Fan and second Mrs. Fan rushed to restrain her, urging her to calm down. No. Stay composed. Someone come quickly. Release me. Fan Ruyan's arrogance was well known, as was her propensity for openly clashing with her sister-in-laws. However, owing to her mother's favoritism, she typically emerged victorious regardless of the circumstances. Years of such dynamics had shaped her into a particular kind of individual. Xiao Xian's words had ignited a simmering rage within her, and the two slaps had pushed her beyond rationality. Her cheeks burned with humiliation, her mind ablaze with fury. She was consumed by an overwhelming desire for retaliation. Even the prefect's wife could not degrade her in such a manner. Chapter 1850. Impulse. Fan Ruyan writhed in resistance, her gaze fixed on Xiao Xian with defiance. Xiao Xian's voice sliced through the tension, cold and unyielding. Apologize. How dare you glare at me? Do you intend to strike me? Release her and let her offer her apology. But they couldn't simply release her. First Madam Fan instructed someone to escort Fan Ruyan away, but Xiao Xian intervened. Halt! Fan Ruyan will not depart until she has extended her apology. How dare you? Do you show no regard for me, the prefect's wife? First Madam Fan faltered. Madam Xiao Ayuro, her sister-in-law, had long been accustomed to having her way. Previously, the prefect's wife held little sway in her presence. Therefore, in a reflexive attempt to prevent any further embarrassment to the Fan family, first Madam Fan sought to diffuse the situation by attending to her sister-in-law's needs, disregarding any potential offense to the prefect's wife. However, while she chose to overlook it, Xiao Xian did not. Xiao Xian had heard of the treatment received by previous prefects' spouses in An's province. She felt both incredulous and disheartened. Those dispatched here for administrative duties lacked influential connections. They were compelled to rely on the local elite families. Even if they suffered hidden injustices, they could do naught but endure. However, she couldn't let such an incident pass unchallenged. Release her. Xiao Xian's command sliced through the tension like a blade. The two maids, already apprehensive of their mistress, trembled under Xiao Xian's stern rebuke. They relinquished their hold, allowing Fan Ruyan to break free and rush toward Xiao Xian. In the midst of gasps and murmurs from the onlookers, Xiao Xian raised an imperious hand. With a frigid gaze fixed on her, Fan Ruyan's arm froze mid-air. The sight of Xiao Xian's icy composure instilled a sudden fear in her, halting the intended strike. Caught between impulse and apprehension, Fan Ruyan hesitated. She couldn't bring herself to carry out the slap, knowing the repercussions of assaulting the prefect's wife in public. Even her own mother's intervention would be futile if such a scene unfolded. The prefect's wife might demand an apology or even imprisonment. Fan Ruyan's arm remained rigid, neither moving forward nor retreating. She stood frozen in embarrassment and apprehension. Xiao Xian, unmoved by the spectacle, remarked coldly, "Mrs. Bai, you certainly are remarkable." First Madam Fan intervened swiftly, restraining Fan Ruyan, and coaxing her to lower her hand. She recognized the folly of her impulsive action, which only served to compound her embarrassment. "Madam Xiao, please understand. It was a momentary lapse of judgment." Thankfully, she regained her senses promptly. "Please forgive her, Madam Xiao. Sister, offer your apology to Madam Xiao." Apologizing was inevitable at this point. Her impulsive behavior had not only harmed herself, but also brought disgrace upon others. First Madam Fan wished she could give her sister-in-law a sound scolding as well. Xiao Xian regarded them with contempt, sneering disdainfully. The Fan family, one of the most prominent in An's province, who wouldn't be eager to curry favor with you? Apologize? I am not worthy of such grace. Mrs. Jia, let us depart. We wouldn't want the Fan family to lament our departure and accuse us of theft. Yes, Madam Xiao. Chapter 1851. Reprimand. Aya, please reconsider. First Madam Fan and second Mrs. Fan couldn't bear to see Qiao Xian walk away like this. With so many eyes upon them, Fan Ruyan's refusal to apologize only worsened matters. If Madam Xiao sought retribution, it could spell trouble for their family. Sister, a sincere apology is in order. We acknowledge our mistake. Madam Xiao, we implore you to grant the Fan family a chance to make amends. Please show mercy, Madam Xiao. The two madams of the Fan family were visibly distressed. With every plea for leniency, they cast pleading glances at Fan Ruyan, silently urging her to make amends swiftly. Fan Ruyan clenched her fists, her face flushing with embarrassment and frustration. She had never felt so humiliated. Apologizing was not in her nature, especially not in front of such a crowd. But she understood the necessity of swallowing her pride in this moment to spare her family from further disgrace. Madame Xiao was notoriously vindictive, and provoking her further would only invite disaster. As she prepared to swallow her pride and issue an apology, Mrs. Guan, who had remained silent until now, interjected. Madame Xiao, let's not escalate this any further. You're well aware of your influence. There's no need to assert dominance at every turn. This is about a bracelet, isn't it? Dragging innocent parties like Mrs. Bai into this only complicates matters. Are you attempting to manipulate the situation to your advantage, perhaps implicating Mrs. Jia? It's a cunning move, I must admit. Your strategic acumen is truly remarkable. Fan Ruyan adamantly refused to apologize to Qiao Xian. Instead, her eyes flashed with defiance as she retorted. I agree. We've yet to unravel the mystery of the bracelet. Are you just going to ignore it? Enough. Qiao Xian's voice cut through the tension. Your disrespect towards me won't go unnoticed. With all these witnesses, are you attempting to deceive or manipulate the truth? I may not hold much sway, but I won't be bullied so easily. Today's events demand seriousness. My position as the prefect's wife is at stake. Turning his gaze to Mrs. Guan, Qiao Xian's tone turned icy. And you? Your peculiar manner of speaking betrays your arrogance. I find Mrs. Jia far more reliable than you. Why the rush? We must delve deeper into your intentions. If you doubt our Lord's judgment, feel free to appeal to the higher court unimpeded. Why the hesitation? It's intriguing. You seem eager to dismiss this without evidence or witnesses. Your status should remind you to act with restraint. If you dare to display such rudeness and arrogance again, you'll find it insufficient. Mrs. Guan flushed with indignation. You a Euro. It's not your place to speak in my presence. Keep silent and step aside. Your time will come, Qiao Xian interjected sharply. Any further utterance from you will result in the same treatment. Furious, ashamed, and seething with anger, Mrs. Guan trembled slightly, but she dared not voice another word. If even Fan Ruyan could be struck, she stood no chance. To face such humiliation would be futile. A sudden realization struck Harayuro. Hadn't she once wielded arrogance and dominance just as flagrantly?